Can't even do the stand-up. I just can't. I can't find it in myself to do the stand-up. But what's going on, New York Giants fans? I figured I'd go live. Obviously, if you saw me during Bad Dog Stream, listen, man, I'm a fan like everybody else. And when you're surrounded by fans that are just, you know, going through the emotions that they're going through, completely understandable what the team that this team is. You got the, I got into it, man, and I hate where this team is at. I'm going to continue to support this team with the best of my ability. And that's what I've tried to do since I've been on YouTube. And I've always tried to give this team as fair of an opportunity as I can, whether it be the general manager, whether it be the quarterback, whether it be the head coach, whoever it may be. I'm never going to be a guy that jumps to conclusions before I think that it's appropriate. That's just me. And if you don't like it, don't watch. But that's just my honest opinion. And what I'm going to say about today, man, one of the worst performances I've seen this New York Giants team have in quite some time against the LA Rams. And obviously, you could point to injuries, and we were definitely outmatched. I never thought we would win this game. Let's start there. The LA Rams, one of the best teams in the NFL. They were a team that was picked to go to the Super Bowl by many for good reason. I expected us to lose this game. I didn't expect us to lose 38-11. Obviously, Kadarius Toney going down with an injury, that continues to be problems, not with him specifically, but just everybody on this team seems to be going down with injuries. Andrew Thomas again went out with another injury. Of course, Kenny Golladay was out today. Saquon Barkley was out today. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. The defense, I will say, actually started out pretty good for like the first quarter and a half, and then they kind of wore down because the offense couldn't get anything going. Of course, Daniel Jones was horrible today. Daniel Jones threw 3 interceptions, should have thrown 4, made a number of really horrible decisions. Some of that definitely because we couldn't block for the guy, but the guy made some inexcusable decisions and decisions that just cannot happen. My only logical line of reasoning, because this is a guy that I thought had grown in terms of being a decision maker, in terms of not turning over the football, I think he tried to put the team on his back. And I think that he, and when you do that, you make dumb decisions. And I think that's what he did today. And he made a number of atrocious throws today. Of course, the fumble as well. Just a really, 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 really bad performance today by the New York Giants, and obviously not going to leave you a lot of hope going forward. Right now, the New York Giants are 1-5, and we'll see what we got going forward for the rest of the year. It's unfortunate that yet again, another year that I'm on YouTube, I'm already talking, or I'm already preparing to start to talk about the offseason. I'm not going to do it yet, but it's unfortunate that we got to go there, that we already got to start thinking about the draft, that we already got to start thinking about whether or not the New York Giants are going to blow this team up. But when you go into this season with the raised expectations, whether they were fair or whether they weren't, when you go out there and spend the money that you did as an organization and showed aggression and showed that you wanted to take the next step, whether it's fair or whether it's not, there's going to be raised expectations. Giants went out there, they spent more money on any wide receiver than any other team in football. They went out there, they spent more money than any other team on a cornerback in football. They went out there, they spent Aaron Donald-like money on Leonard Williams, who I will say actually played very well today. He was probably one of the few bright spots on this football team today. But when you do those things and you're coming up a year with hope and promise and you fall short, which obviously it looks like the New York Giants are headed that way, there's going to be change. There has to be. The question is, how big will the change be? Is it going to just be Dave Gettleman? Is it going to be the head coach? Obviously it's going to be a very eventful offseason, and we'll see, where everything goes from there. But obviously a bad day right now to be a New York Giant fan, and a really tough start to this season. But obviously I'll talk to you guys and, field some of your questions. We'll talk a little bit about the Giants and whatever you want to talk about going forward with this team. But obviously Joe Judge today was really bad as well. Don't want to give him a pass either. Made a number of questionable decisions as well. And this team right now is just, I don't know, man. They are much worse than I thought they would be going into this year. I'll say that right now. Some of it, yeah, you want to say that some of it could be bad luck? Absolutely. There's been injuries, but the best teams could overcome that. And the Giants were not built properly. I was a guy that, and Caden, I'm going to get to your chat in a second. I was a guy that, tried to support Dave Gettleman the best I could. I didn't always agree with all of his decisions and all of his roster moves and everything else, but yeah, I wanted to support the rebuild. And this offseason, I did not agree with a lot of what he did. In terms of the free agency moves, I was completely fine with it. I actually liked the moves that he made, but when you do that, the way that it set us up for the draft and his inability to address some things that I thought were obvious, that is when I started to fall off the Dave Gettleman train before this year started. I just hoped that he was right. That's what I said countless time and time again. And right now, it does not look like him and Joe Judge, because I want to put him in there as well. I think they were collaboratively did not make the wisest of decisions this offseason. How big of an impact it would have had, who knows, right? We've had a lot of injuries, but not a good start for the Giants. And I'm sure next week at MetLife Stadium, if there are not changes, the fan base is going to be very loud, if they're at the stadium at all, with the way that this team has performed as of late. Simon, man, thank you so much, man. Actually, let me read Caden first, man. Thank you so much for being a member. He says, being at the game today was just completely deflating. Tons of booing and people leaving at halftime. I can't blame you guys, man. You guys pay good money. You spend your whole Sunday there. You know, for me, I live in New York, so for me, it would, you know, it's like an all day event, and to go there and get that product on the field today by the New York Giants, that's about as bad as it gets, you know. And I don't like to overreact, and I thought we would lose this game today, and I even said in my stream last night, by no means am I ruling out the possibility of getting blown out, but it's just discouraging the way that this team plays. Some of the bad luck that we have with the injuries, but regardless, the way that Daniel Jones played today, of course, not encouraging at all. Looks like he took a major step back. Some of that obviously having to do with Nate Solder. And I don't understand Joe Judge's decision to start Nate Solder. I don't understand it. And then he pulls Nate Solder after the first 3 plays, and he puts Matt Barrett in. And Matt Barrett, by the way, sucked too. So I'm not saying that Matt Barrett did a great job. He didn't. He came in at the left side after Andrew Thomas went down, and he looked horrible. But my line of thinking is, if you're going to be a team that's 1-4, why not put Barrett in there, especially with the way that Barrett played the previous week in comparison to Nate Solder? So I didn't understand that decision, putting Nate Solder back in after he looked horrible on that first drive when he gave up the pressure. You know, there's a couple things Judge did today that definitely, you know, made me question. You know, and I'm a guy that has tried to express, I want you to be aggressive. I want you to go for it on 4th down. And the one time, and I even said it before so I don't want people to, you know, make it out to be that I'm looking to complain no matter what. I said it long before they made the decision. I even said on the live stream, I said, I've been outspoken that I think Judge should go for it more on 4th down. But in this situation, I think they should punt. And in the one time when I thought that they should punt in a 4th down situation, they went for it. In the first quarter on their own 40-yard line. On a 4th and 1, they did the QB sneak. That didn't work out. Obviously, I was encouraged that they were starting to show some more aggression, but I thought that was a questionable decision by the New York Giants and Joe Judge there as well. And I don't know, man. It just looked like the team was deflated. I don't want to use the word quit, but it just was not a good showing by the Giants today. Simon says, glad I missed the game here. Here's my due for the therapy. What's going on, Simon, man? Thanks so much for popping in the stream, man. Yeah, you didn't miss a whole lot other than Giants tears. Tyler, man, thank you very much. Do you believe Jones should not be the quarterback next year? Do you think Judge should be the head coach? Should I burn my gear? I'm never going to burn my gear. I'm a New York Giants fan. That's just me, man. I'm always going to root for this team till the day I die. That's just the way I am. I don't tell people how to root for their team. Do I think that Jones will be the quarterback next year? I can't answer that question. I honestly can't answer that question because I don't know what they're going to do. And it's going to come down to what they decide to do with the general manager. I think that's where it starts. Obviously, I think we all agree Gettleman's going to be fired, but the question then becomes, do you hire from within the organization? Do you hire an outsider? If they hire an outsider, which is very possible, I would think that I'd be leaning that it's at least, I don't know if I want to use the word probable, but at least very possible that the Giants could elect to draft the quarterback in next year's draft or get a stopgap or whatever, because he's got no connections to Daniel Jones. And at that point, what leg does Daniel Jones have to stand on? He's 3 years into the league. Hasn't had much success in terms of wins and losses. A lot of that due to the fact that he's on a bad team, but he hasn't helped much of the situation. Gettleman's gone, the guy that drafted him. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to in terms of what they decide to do with the general manager this offseason, whether or not they go in-house or whether they bring in an outsider. As far as your and again, we still have a whole season we have another 11 games. So my opinion could change on that, right? What if they win their 8 out of their last 11 and Jones looks great? Who knows? But right now, if we brought in an outsider, my guess would be they would at least think about moving on from the quarterback. But then the problem you have is when you listen to any expert in this upcoming draft, there are no standout quarterback prospects. And then what I ask myself is, if this isn't an ideal situation for a quarterback to step in and succeed, and there's not a slam dunk quarterback prospect, well, then you're going to be setting that quarterback up to fail. And you just keep doing the same cycle over and over again. So the Giants right now are in a really tough spot. And, I guess we'll get our answers as the offseason starts to begin, but we still got 11 games and, we'll see how the team operates. But if we fire Judge, who should be the head coach? I mean, your guess is as good as mine in terms of what they would do. I've said numerous times that if they decided to move on from Judge, I would like an offensive-minded head coach, a young offensive-minded head coach, if they went that route. You could throw several names out there. People have said Eric Bieniemy. People have said Joe Brady, Dabble from the Bills. But I think that's the route that I would take if I was moving on from Joe Judge. I think I would go for a young offensive mind. But I would not burn your Giants gear. No, I would not. I would not burn your Giants gear, Tyler. No, absolutely not, man. Keep it intact. Don't burn your Giants gear. But I don't blame you for feeling that way. And let me just see here. Buck, man, thank you so much, man. I love Tony, but we should have drafted Slater. Well, you know how I feel about that, and I don't like to rub that in. So like some fans like to rub in when I'm wrong or when they're right or when they're wrong. I don't want to be right. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, I don't want to be right. I hated the Jones pick on draft night. I don't want to be right. I'm a Giants fan. I'm praying to God that I'm wrong. I think a lot of people would stick with that take and be like, ha, ha, ha. See, I was right. No, that's not the way I am. And I don't want to be right about Rashawn Slater. But you know my opinion on the matter. I would have drafted Rashawn Slater. I don't. And again, Tony's looked really good. I'm encouraged with Kadarius Toney, no doubt about it. Of course, he had the ankle injury today, but I think he could be a dynamic wide receiver. He had like 30 yards on the first drive, and he's looked great for the Giants. It definitely could be a building block for this football team. And if they go out there and they draft a stud offensive lineman next year, it could definitely work out. I'm just a guy, and my beliefs are never going to change. And again, everybody is entitled to their own opinions in terms of how they think a football team should be built. My opinion is it starts from the line out. I frequently... I hate the Dallas Cowboys with a passion. Okay. They're our biggest rival. Them or the Eagles. I can't stand them, but I frequently give them credit for building their team properly because I agree with the way that they built their football team. The Dallas Cowboys in 2011 spent a first round pick on an offensive lineman. 2012, I think they spent a first round pick on it. Between 2011 and 2014, I think they drafted 3 first round offensive linemen and they got La'el Collins, who should have been a first round offensive lineman, but had issues off the field. And then they started to draft their guys like Ezekiel Elliott. And then they started to trade for their guys like Amari Cooper because the team was set up properly. That's the way I will always feel a team should be built. I believe that the foundation should be set in place before you start to make picks like that. That is just my honest opinion. And just how and with how bad the New York Giants offensive line was last year, to put full faith in the guys that we drafted, the Shane Lemieux of the world, the Matt Parrots of the world, and you saw what he looked today on the left side. It's hard to get anything going consistently on an offense when you can't establish blocking. So you know my opinion on that. I would have drafted Slater. I will never shy away from that opinion. But the trade could definitely work out. There's no doubt about it. It could still definitely work out. We'll see what pick we get with the Bears. And obviously, Tony's looked really good. I'm not going to knock the Tony pick. It's looked really good so far. But yeah, you know who I would have taken. We need to fix that O-line. I agree. Jones tried to put the team on his back. I'll give Jones another year. Not a great quarterback class. Let's get ready for the Knicks. I can't wait for the Knicks, Buck. And you're always in my stream. Support me, man. I'm really looking forward. I'm going to be doing a Tuesday night live stream, with JD Sports Talk on my channel the night before opening night, and then I'll be streaming all the games. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you for all the support on the channel. But yeah, I mean, listen, man, my opinion may change throughout the course of the year. But the one thing I will say, and I think the worst thing an organization could do, and I say it all the time, is force a quarterback pick. I think it's the dumbest thing you could ever do. So if the Giants don't feel like there's a slam dunk quarterback prospect to just take a quarterback because you think he's a little bit better than Daniel Jones, I think it's a bad decision. You have to be completely committed to that quarterback and think he can be a top 5 prospect, because I'm going to tell you what, unless the quarterback is otherworldly, they are not going to step in here and succeed, at least for another 2 years. It's going to take time to build this team up properly to support that quarterback with the pieces that they need to really get the most out of their abilities. And the other thing I'll say is, in today's NFL, I think we all agree that the biggest benefit you can have as a football team is to have your quarterback on his rookie contract. To me, that is that I've talked about it numerous times. There's only been 3 quarterbacks in the history of football, might be 4, since 1995, since the salary cap was implemented, that have won a Super Bowl when they got paid more than 10% of the team's cap space. And when a quarterback hits their second contract, that's what they get paid. So obviously, conventional wisdom would tell you your best opportunity to win a Super Bowl is when the quarterback is on the rookie salary. So why in the world, unless it was a Trevor Lawrence-like prospect, would I draft a quarterback and put him in a situation where I was 2 years away from being able to truly compete? You're wasting the first 2 years of that rookie window. That's my opinion. Right now, I look at the Giants situation, and I don't think it's a good situation for a quarterback to come in and thrive. I just don't like the situation. Would you fire Getty now to prevent him from doing some boneheaded trade in desperation? Time to sell off, show Getty and judge the door. Getty's going to get fired. And I know the fan base would be excited if it happened tomorrow or the day after, whatever. to me, it really doesn't matter. I know unless the team, like I said, goes on a crazy run, which I don't see happening. I hope I'm wrong. Getty's going to be replaced, and I'm content with that. I expect that. I know that's going to happen. The only question for me now is it going to be an in-house hire or is it going to be an outsider? I know the fan base will be excited, and it's kind of why I said, I think at the top of the stream. Oh no, I said it on Twitter actually. I think the fan base, even though I don't think it's going to make much of a difference if the New York Giants fire Jason Garrett or Joe Judge or Patrick Graham, you name the person, whoever. I think even though I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in terms of next week, the week after that, in season, I think it'll give the fan base some hope that change is on the horizon. I think that would be what I guess would relieve the fan base in terms of having some hope that the New York Giants are turning the page and looking to make some change. But in terms of firing Gettleman from within season, I don't think, and I could be wrong, I really don't think he would make a trade if we were like, say, 1-6. I know he's done it before with Leonard Williams. And if he did, then I would go after John Mara like crazy if he made a trade like that right now in this situation. But yeah, I mean, what I would say is you can't allow him to make a trade that could potentially damage your future going forward if you're the New York Giants. But as long as he doesn't do that, I'm fine if you wait till the end of the year or whatever. Maybe you want to do it at week 15, 16, so you give yourself a little bit of a leg up on the rest of the competition if you're looking for an outside general manager. Shogany and Judge, I don't think they're going to fire Judge in season. I'd be surprised, at least this early in the season. If they were going to make that move, I think it would be at year's end. Peterman, thank you very much. Hey, Chris, was at the game. Well, I'm not glad that you got to go to the game, but I hope you had at least a little fun. Left at halftime, really felt sick to my stomach. I think we should clean house, get rid of Gettleman and Judge, trade Daniel Jones, etc. We're in line for the number 1 pick and another top 10 pick from the Bears. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll get the number 1 pick, but we're definitely, and I'm not rooting for that. I never root for my team to tank. I never tell people I root for the team. I always say that. But yeah, I mean, right now we're 1-5. I think the Jaguars won today, so we have the worst record in the NFL. Us and I'm assuming at least like 2 or 3 other teams. But yeah, I mean, the way it looks, we'll get at least a top 6, 7 pick probably by year's end if things keep trending the way in which they are. I don't think you're getting anything from Daniel Jones right now. What do you expect to get? So I don't think they'll trade Daniel Jones. I really don't. Maybe at year's end, if they decide to draft a quarterback and a team has interest, maybe they'll look to do that, but they're not going to trade him now. As far as Gettleman and Judge, I think they'll be, here's what I'll say. In terms of Judge, and you guys know, and I talked about it last night during the live stream, I am not a guy that likes constant turnover. I hate it. I think it's what the worst organizations in the world do. And Pete, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I say it all the time. I always go back to them and I say how the Knicks did that for years. Turnover, and they could get no stability. So I am not a guy that is rooting for the New York Giants to have to change another coach and move on to the 5th head coach over the last 6 years. I think it's a disgrace. I think it's an embarrassment to the franchise if you got to go and do that yet again. But what I will say is if you bring in an outside GM, and it's why I thought they should have fired Shermer and Gettleman at the same time or kept both and given them another year in 2020. But if you go and you bring in an outside GM, you cannot force Joe Judge on that new general manager. You have to give that guy full say and full autonomy to do what he thinks is the right thing to do as a general manager. And if the New York Giants are going to do that, well, then the owner's a fool, and he's handcuffing his general manager. So that's my take on that. And I mean, we'll see at year's end. I think if Judge is going to stay, they'll hire somebody from within. If they're going to move on from Judge, there's a good chance they're going to look to bring in somebody from the outside and really start to shake things up. And we'll see by year's end what they elect to do. Formula Fitness, man, thank you very much. I was at the game. Oh, God, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Half the stadium were Rams fans, and the team looked like they quit with. I was saying that at the top of the stream a little bit, Formula Fitness. I don't want to use the term quit, but watching the game on TV, it didn't look like, and this was really the first time under Joe Judge that I could really say this, and I'm not going to go as far to say quit, but it was the first time where the thought at least creeped into my head as that game wore along. And I know Judge kind of had a halftime speech. They were talking about it today on Twitter that he was saying, we're going to find out what we're made. I don't know. Like he was talking to the players when they were down by so much, we're going to find out what we're made of. And maybe the team was just getting worn down as the game went along. But I will say that is the first time while I was watching a Joe Judge coach football team where the thought at least creeped in my head. I don't want to definitively say that, but I saw what you're talking about. Worst product I've seen ever in my life. It was bad, man. It was bad today, man. There's no doubt about it. It was really bad. Bear says, give Gary Brightwell a shot at running back. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Gary Brightwell to go out there. Let me just make sure I don't miss anybody here. J-Man J. Yeah, I already got you. Okay. I don't expect Gary Brightwell to go out there and get like 50 carries, but I thought he'd get at least 5-6 carries today. They didn't use him at all. And Eli Penny they didn't really use. Maybe he had a carry. I don't even think he did. Especially with Daniel Jones's inability to run the football, you would have thought they would have used some of the backup running backs today. They didn't do it. I thought Tony was probably going to be used in the Wildcat. Of course, he got hurt on the first drive. But yeah, I mean, at this point, why not give Gary Brightwell an opportunity? Saquon's out with the injury. Why not use him as your backup running back? Give him 5, 6, 7 carries, whatever it may be. Devontae Booker was actually running pretty hard at the beginning of that game, and then it stopped kind of working, I guess, when the Rams kind of made an adjustment and stuff to run. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought Brightwell should have gotten more of an opportunity today. Simon says, team could go 1-16 and still will be here watching you, but I appreciate it, man. Listen, man, first of all, let me say this, man. I can't say thank you enough to each and every one of you guys, man. Not just for being such supporters of the Giants, but being supporters of me. You know, I know a lot of you guys probably watch my channel because you just like my, you know, you like me, you like my channel, you know, and I know that's a reason why a lot of people watch YouTubers, and I can't say thank you enough. I mean, for all the hell that this team goes through, and it's really not much of a product to be proud of and be excited about. You guys continue to watch my channel, support my channel, and I try to be as fair as I can. I say it all the time. I don't want to be a guy that just jumps to conclusions. You know, as long as you guys respect my opinion, you don't kill me for it. I'm always going to try to respect yours. So I can't say thank you enough to each and every one of you guys for all the support that you guys always show me on my channel and for this football team. So I appreciate that, Simon. And let's see. J-Man J. I hope I didn't miss you on here, but I could. If not, yeah, I did, but I'll read it on the phone. J-Man J says, use Chicago pick. Where's the lucky A2? I like A2. He seems like a really nice guy. He likes to troll me, though. I've noticed that. He likes to give little digs, and that's cool. On Twitter and on YouTube, he says, where's the lucky red hoodie, Chris? Wink face. The lucky red hoodie went in the trash can because it's no longer lucky. I tried to switch to the Andrew Thomas jersey. That hasn't worked either. I don't know what's going to work. I might just wear a garbage bag for the rest of the year, and maybe that'll switch some things up. Today I went through about a half a bottle of Jack Daniels. That didn't work either. So I don't know, man. I'm trying my best to get this team going on the right foot. It's not working. J-Man says, use the Chicago pick for Watson. That's the best way to rebuild and get back on track. J-Man, here's what I'll say. If you could get first off, Deshaun Watson, I don't think we would trade for him. I don't think I need to talk about the reasoning behind it in terms of, his off the field stuff. But even if we were, it's going to cost you a lot more than just one first-round draft pick, right? There were reports that they were looking for 4 or 5 first-round draft picks. And if it's going to cost that kind of price, I don't think the New York Giants are in a position to make a trade like that. A team that's in a position to make a trade like that is a team, I don't know, the Denver Broncos, for example, a team that's set up very well. They have a very good young defense that, and they probably feel like they're a quarterback like that away from winning a Super Bowl. If you give away 4 first-round draft picks to bring in a quarterback and you're a team like the New York Giants, well, then you're the Houston Texans at that point. The Houston Texans won 4 games with Deshaun Watson, maybe won 7 or 8, but I don't think it's going to help us get over the top, and we'd have no draft capital to help build the future of this football team. That's just my opinion. I just don't think the Giants are in a place to make a move like that. That's just my opinion on it. MG, man, thank you very much. Tank till Arch Manning is in the draft. He'd have 4 years of high draft picks to build a team for him. Well, yeah, Arch Manning was, I think in 2025, they said he's going to come out, and that'd be cool. You guys all know I love Eli Manning. That'd be cool if he ended up being the next quarterback for the New York Giants in 4 or 5 years or so. Just call me Juice, man. Thank you so much. We need to change ASAP. Tired of losing. Listen, man, I'm as tired as you guys. I got to talk about this team every day. Well, not every day. I've been taking a little bit of break, but I'm going to get back on it, man. I'm going to talk about this team as much as I can. I need a little breather this past week, and today was just tough. Yeah, man, listen, man, we do need change. I'll be the first to say it, and I've definitely come around to the fact, and I said it, man. I'm a man of my word. I said going into the year that if the New York Giants don't really turn this around, they're going to have to make significant changes, whether that be the general manager or whatever else it may be. And I do think that's ultimately what's going to end up happening at a bare minimum. There's obviously going to be a change at the GM, and the question is how big does the change come after that? Of course, the obstacle that the New York Giants have, if they want to potentially completely blow it up, which I've said several times, is all the commitments they have in salary. What GM wants to come in and take on that situation, and if they wanted to blow it up, they really can't. $100 million is tied up to about 6 players next year that no team's going to be looking to trade for. So the Giants they're in a little bit of a tight spot right now. Chef, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. He says, bottom line is Joe Judge Bottom line is Joe Judge is over conditioning the players. That's why we're all injured. And I don't put the whole blame on Gettleman, even though he sucks. I don't think you should put the whole blame on Gettleman. Gettleman obviously has a lot to do with it, right? This is his roster. But, I think we all agreed that over the last 2 years, Judge and Gettleman both were very hands-on in terms of the players that they selected. I think most people said it was collaborative. Even a lot of people gave Judge the majority of the credit. So I think Judge has his hands written all over this roster. In terms of the conditioning, I think there may be something to that. But some of the injuries, I'm going to say no, but some of them are possible. Like the Barkley injury, I don't think that has anything to do with conditioning. I think that's a fluke injury. The Daniel Jones injury has nothing to do with conditioning, right? He drove his head into another defender's helmet. But maybe, maybe some of the hamstring injuries, maybe there's something there. I know a lot of people have talked about that. The other injuries, though, I just think they're fluke injuries. Andrew Thomas, of course, had a foot problem last year. But maybe there may be certain instances where there's some validity behind that. Max says, I take back anything I said last night. Nobody should be saved. Burn it all. Embarrassing. Max has come to the dark side. Max is awesome. I had him on the channel last night. Great guy. Looking forward to getting to talk more Giants with you in the future. And I hope you're doing well, buddy. But yeah, he said, and I knew you were going to upset the chat, but last night Max came on and said, I don't think they should blow anything up. I think they should push forward with what they got. I don't think we're in a spot to make changes. And obviously Max has quickly changed his tune. And that's what's funny about football. It's a week-to-week game, and each game means so much that you're going to have drastic shifts in terms of your opinion from topic to topic. So he's ready to say, you know what, it's time to make major changes. I don't blame you for feeling that way after today. MYG31 says, Dave Gettleman lost us this game today. I mean, Dave Gettleman's lost us a lot of games in terms of the roster that he's built. I don't know if I want to just, obviously there's more to it than just Gettleman. Gettleman didn't coach the players, but yeah, in terms of the players that were on this team and the lack of depth on the roster, sure, if you want to say that, for sure. Tyler says, the quarterback prospects are really bad. Why do you think the defense has regressed so badly? That's the thing I'm worried about. That's why I don't want to force a quarterback pick. And a lot of people argued in 2019 we forced a quarterback pick, right? It was regarded as a weak quarterback draft class. A lot of people wanted Dwayne Haskins, obviously, in that draft. But what I'll ask you this, for people that don't like Daniel Jones, well, do you want to do the same thing again? Do you want to force a quarterback pick in a weak quarterback draft class? Because that's essentially what you'd be doing. And that's what I think you got to ask yourself. But as far as the defense, man, I don't know. I mean, part of it is obviously Blake Martinez is out. That doesn't help. But they've had problems all year. They've had problems in the 2-minute defense all year, all 6 games now. They've given up a touchdown before the half. Poor tackling. I don't know, man. Maybe changes in terms of the play calling, right? We were all excited when they brought in Adoree Jackson. We thought they'd be more aggressive. Maybe he's still experimenting. I don't know. Regardless, Patrick Graham's definitely not getting the job done. The players are not getting the job done. The coverage has been bad for the most part. Today, I knew Cooper Kupp was going to carve us up. There's no doubt about it. There's no way you could ask Jabril Peppers to cover him one-on-one. He's arguably the best receiver in football this year. So I knew that was going to be a problem. He went for like $140 against us. But overall, our defense has been so disappointing this year. Today, they actually put forth a pretty good effort in the first half, and then it just kind of, went to hell after that. Cole says, what would you do if you got hired as GM end of the year? I mean, Cole, I'm going to have a video on this at the end of the year, and I'll go into more extensive detail. But in terms of, off the top of my head, I kind of mentioned it yesterday in my live stream. I'm just going to take a couple of pictures of these in case I miss them. I kind of mentioned this in my live stream yesterday. The first thing I would do, if he's healthy, again, he's got to be healthy, I would look for players that I thought were going to be part, and there's not many of them, but that I thought were going to be part of the long-term future of this football team, and I would try to sign them now to extensions. Young players. I'm talking guys like Andrew Thomas, guys that are in their second year, if he could provide that he's healthy, which he has not been able to do. He got hurt again this year. But that's the first thing that I would do. I would look at the younger players. Reason being is the market only goes up. If you sign them on an extension now, 5-6 years down the line, when you intend for this team to actually be turning the corner, you're going to get them on a much more cost-effective rate. It's what the Eagles did with their left tackle before the season started. Obviously, it's a little bit of a gamble, but you're also giving the player more long-term security, and you're not going to have to give him near as much money. So that would be the first thing I would do. I would try to identify long-term pieces and try to get them locked up now. And there's not many of them on this football team. The second thing I would do in the draft, and again, this is right now, my opinion may change. I want to continue to say that. In the draft next year, I'm looking to trade down. I'm looking to get more and more and more and more future draft capital if the opportunity presents itself. That's what I would do if I was a GM right now. And obviously there's a lot of other things I could say. And like I said, in the offseason, we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about, but those are the two major things I would do right now. Mike says DJ is a franchise quarterback with a solid O-line. He could be. I will not say he's definitively, but I think he could be. And he does not have a solid O-line. DJ says, Chris, let's clean house and get Malik Willis and Eric Bieniemy and a new GM. Eric Bieniemy is obviously going to be a very popular name. Let me take a couple more pictures because I think I'm going to lose him here, and I don't want to. I want to be able to go back to these and read these in case I missed these. Eric Bieniemy is obviously going to be a very popular name. The one thing that I worry about with Eric Bieniemy, the only thing I worry about with Eric Bieniemy is this: why hasn't the guy been able to get a job? And a lot of people might point to the minority thing, right? People frequently say that, but he's lost jobs to other African American coaches. He lost a job to the I think it was Cuddy or whatever his name is with the Houston Texans. So my question is, does he not interview well? Like, what has not impressed other teams about Eric Bieniemy? That's just a question that I would have. But in terms of his credentials, yeah, the guy's obviously a very good potential candidate. He's been under Andy Reid. He's known to be a really good offensive mind. And I'm assuming if the Giants look to bring in a head coach, he's a guy that they'd have on the list. Jahad, man, thank you very much. Getty needs to be fired right now before he makes any boneheaded trades for players. We need to trade players away and get more draft capital. And at season's end, nuke the whole franchise. I listen. If they fired Gettleman tomorrow, you wouldn't hear me say a word. I wouldn't complain at all if they fired Gettleman tomorrow, and I would understand the decision behind it. And I think it would signal to the fan base that change is on the horizon. Then the other question I would have is, who do they replace him with in season? And then do they stick with that at the end of the year? That would be the question it would be. But if they decide to move on from Gettleman, I wouldn't be surprised. I am still leaning that they probably won't. I think they're going to they're going to fire him at the year's end or force him to retire. I still am leaning that they won't do it in season, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do. And I would understand, obviously, due to the fact that you're worried he could, further damage the future of this football team. I understand why fans would feel that way. Canoni, man, thank you very much. I love Nick Gates, but the fact that he has played out of his normal position because of our inept O-line speaks to how backwards our organization has tried to build this team. 2022 picks are so crucial. Listen, man, the fact that the New York Giants, and I said it earlier in the stream, and like I said, man, I said it all offseason because I try to be as fair as I can. I'm not a paid professional, in terms of evaluating players and being a general manager and being a head coach. I don't pretend to be. So I try to be as fair as I possibly can. I did not agree with putting trust in Matt Parrott and Shane Lemieux and not addressing the offensive line at all and letting Kevin Zeitler walk. Didn't agree with it at all. But at the same time, I said, I'm going to hope and pray that I'm wrong and Dave Gettleman and the New York Giants are right. And some of it's bad luck. I'll be as fair as I can. They've had injuries on the offensive line. Shane Lemieux got hurt before the year started. But overall, I mean, come on. So, they certainly could have used more depth on that line for sure. And Pete, thank you very much. You can't keep this staff, though. They don't win. If you don't clean house, then you're saying you think the players are the problem. If the players aren't the problem and the coaches aren't the problem, why aren't we winning? I think it's both. That's the biggest problem with the New York Giants. I don't think that you could pinpoint what the problem is. I think that there are so many problems with this team. Like, I know that Jason Garrett was the punching bag for a year, and everybody said that he was the problem. Now people are turning their attention to Judge. They're saying he's the problem. People obviously get him, and they've always said is the problem. I think there are so many problems with this team. I don't think there's one area to point to, which would tell you that I would not be against the blow-up. But then I think what fans need to realize, and I'm not saying that fans wouldn't be accepting of this, because I think at the end of the day, Giants fans just want a competitive football team, and they want a team that they feel like could go out there week in and week out and compete to try to win a Super Bowl. I think that's what they want. But I think what they have to realize is that it's going to take 2 years for this team to get to the point where they're a relevant football team if you blow this team up all over again. And, as long as people are accepting of that, I'm all aboard if that's what they decide is the right decision. And I think New York Giants fans probably been humbled the last 7 or 8 years, much like New York Knicks fans were for years. And I am assuming that New York Giants fans this time around would be much more open to, I guess, being patient and knowing that it's going to be a process if they elect to go that route. But I think fans need to realize that that is what exactly would happen if you brought in a new GM and they decided to get rid of a lot of the players on this football team. Let me just get to some of these pictures. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. The last guy I got was Pete on the Super Chat. So let me read here. I think the next one is Nelly. I don't like to miss anybody. This loss, this team has no fight and no heart. What the hell will they show me when I go on the 28th? Well, hopefully you enjoy the game. That's the first thing I'm going to say. And, like I said, man, when I think it was Formula Fitness that said it, this was the first time that I really felt like, I don't want to use the word quit, but I didn't feel like they were fully invested in this football game at the end of the game. And obviously they were getting blown out. But, I was not happy at all with the effort today. And I was definitely down in the dumps there for the last, the whole second half for the most part. And hopefully they respond and they're paid professionals, and hopefully they have some pride and they go out there and they try to compete. And obviously it won't be easy with all the injuries, but you expect a better effort than this. And I just hope they play better, man. That's all I could say. And hopefully Daniel Jones does not continue to, I'm not going to say continue because this is really the first game where he made a lot of bad decisions, but hopefully this does not now become a pattern where he starts making a lot of bad decisions this year. Jay Tripp, man, thank you so much for being a member. He says, Chris, we will be with you till the end, even when we suck. Well, I know that because you guys have been on my channel since it started and we've sucked the whole time. Do you think we trade Barkley? I think it's possible in the offseason. It's not possible in season. But that, and I think in order to trade Barkley, if that's the route that they wanted to go, Barkley would have to have a really good second half and have some trade value. It's not going to happen before the trade deadline, quite simply because he's hurt. But if you moved on from Gettleman and brought in an insider, I would think more likely than not, Barkley's not going to be a part of the future of this team. Because again, much like Jones, Dave Gettleman was the guy that drafted Saquon Barkley, the new GM. He's not going to pay $15 million a year to a running back that he never drafted. So I do think if there was a market there for Barkley, there's a high probability that the Giants could look to trade him, but it wouldn't happen in season. I think it would happen before the start of next year. Larry says, Yo, Chris, got nothing to say, just showing some love. Hope everyone is having a great day despite the Giants being the worst organization in football. Yeah, I said that on Bad Dog Stream. This week when I was on his channel, and people were like, no way, they're not the worst organization over the last 10 years. And yes, the Jets are slightly worse, but that's about it. Maybe you could say the Jaguars, but they went to an AFC championship. The Lions have 8 more wins than we do over the same time span, and they've had 3 winning seasons. So we're about as bad as it gets. And I hate to say that as a Giants fan. You guys know how much I love this football team, but we're about as bad as it gets. Brandon says, O-line and D-line this year, first round, sign Marcus Mariota in next offseason, then get C.J. Stroud. Maybe possible. Marcus Mariota would obviously just be a stopgap. Maybe you do that and you still have Jones on the roster and you have them compete for the quarterback position, something like that. It's possible. As far as the O-line and D-line this year, I'm in complete agreement with you guys on that. I've said that numerous times. That's what I would attack. I would attack the O-line and D-line. Those would be my number 1 and number 2 priorities. But the other priority I continue to say is the middle linebacker. I think it needs to be addressed. Blake Martinez, there's a good chance he's going to be cut with how much the Giants are going to save off his salary. And that's unfortunate. He had the injury, and I love Blake, but it's going to save you $10 million. You don't know if he's going to be the same player in the last year of his contract. So I think the Giants need to get a young linebacker as well, a guy that could drop back in coverage, a versatile piece at the linebacker position. I think that's a big need for as well going forward. And I got Brandon, and I think I'm caught up here. Template, man. Thank you so much, man. Let me go back here. So that way I'm caught up on the chat as well. Template says, is it me or am I dumb to this? Also, I'm at work, so I can't see the Cowboys game. Please tell me, are they going to lose? The Cowboys, I think, are going to win. They had a pick 6. I'm not watching the game right now. I'll pull up the score. Yeah, they won 35-29. They had a pick 6 to take the lead in that game. So, yeah, unfortunately, the Cowboys won. We all know that we hate them. But, yeah, Cowboys up to a 5-1 start, and obviously they're going to run away with this division. I mean, right now, they've got this division in a stranglehold, and yeah, they're the best team. I mean, it's not even close in this division. I think the Cowboys actually, when you look at their schedule, because it's soft, they might get the number 1 seed in the NFC. They might win 13 or 14 games to get the number 1 seed because the NFC West is loaded. You have to figure the Cardinals are going to lose some games to the Rams. Some of those teams in that division. Cowboys got a chance to get the number 1 seed. Christian Cologne, man, thank you very much. I don't know if it's smart to blow it all up. You can't really do it because of the contracts. One more bad year, fire Judge and Dave Gettleman at the same time. Yeah, well, Christian Cologne, if you go that route, and I understand that line of thinking, I still think Gettleman gets fired, but it would be you would basically have a substitute for Dave Gettleman. That's essentially what it would be if you hired an in-house guy, and he would just hold the fort and for one more year, and the Giants would experiment if they could keep this thing moving forward. And if it didn't work, I think, according to what you think they should do, that is when they would elect to completely blow it up. And I think there's some logical thinking behind that due to the main point that you said. We're kind of strapped in terms of being able to make any moves to begin with because of all the high salaries that we have committed to these players. But yeah, we'll see by year's end, man. And Area, thank you. He says, can we ask Tom Coughlin to be a GM? I don't see that happening. Tom, I don't even know how old is Tom Coughlin. I don't have the chat updated right now, but I mean, he's old and he's never had general manager experience. I know he's had field office experience with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't see that happening. If the Giants are going to bring in a GM, they're going to bring in a young, if it's going to be an outsider, they're going to bring in I would hope at least, more young, innovative mind, more analytically driven, perhaps something different. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's, you got to change it up. So I don't see that happening at all. I love Tom Coughlin, one of my favorite New York Giants of all time, but I just don't see that happening. But Ari, thank you so much. And let me see. RB says, I say stay with Daniel Jones, Tony Thomas, and the rest can go driving me crazy seeing Dallas win. Yeah, well, I hate Dallas winning. And it looked like they were going to lose that football game, and obviously it didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, we'll see about DJ, what they decide to do. Like I said, a new GM, we don't know if he's completely safe in terms of being with this football team long term. Tony, obviously, and Azeez Ojulari is another piece that hopefully can continue to get better, and Andrew Thomas. I agree. As long as Thomas and Tony can stay healthy, those guys are clearly long-term building blocks for this football team. They're two of the silver lining pieces long-term for this team if they could stay on the football field. But yeah, I agree with you. And I guess the encouraging thing, not even encouraging, but I guess like the optimistic side of me, not this year, obviously, I'm not optimistic at all, is the fact that if he could stay healthy, Andrew Thomas is a really nice building block on that offensive line. And then I say to myself, okay, in next year's draft, maybe we could get 2 high-end offensive linemen. And once you get 3 really good offensive linemen, the rest will kind of fall into place. And then we start to build that foundation. But, we got to continue to attack it. You can't do it on a year in, year out basis and just hope that these guys get better when you're relying on 5th round draft picks that had a 32 PFF grade the year before with the worst pass blocking rate in all of football. And Matt Baird, who couldn't even beat out Nate Solder before the year started. So they got to get some high-quality guys in here and get that thing situated as far as I'm concerned. Omar says, I don't think Jones is the problem. We are extremely hurt. Jason Garrett needs to go with the GM. Should we use our picks for next year on the O-line? Of course we should use our picks on the O-line. And my channel might as well be called the Entertainer Talking O-line, because that will always be my mindset with this New York Giants football team in terms of how to build a football team. 1,000%. That is what I think we should attack this upcoming season in the draft as much as possible. We have got to set the solid foundation. Blue man, thank you very much. Fans got to stop killing my boy Riley. Oh God, you know what, man? I hate, but he's a punter, and you know what I will say? He gets too much practice, so he gets too much of an opportunity for us to rag on him because the Giants offense can't pick up first downs. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Riley Dix has been bad. He wasn't very good last year for the Giants. He was great the year before. He made the Pro Bowl. Today he had one really good punt, but he had another horrible punt. And overall this year, I don't know the stats, but just from watching the games, I don't feel like he ever does a good job in terms of pinning them deep. I think he had like 1 or 2 punts where he pinned them deep, and one of them required like a great play on special teams for the guy to bat it. It was kind of a line drive going into the end zone, and I think it was Crossan, the guy that we brought in via the trade for the 6th round pick, was able to bat it rather than it going in the end zone. To me, he just hasn't been that good of a player for the Giants, and he certainly hasn't lived up to that contract. But if he's your boy, for you, I hope he works out. I never want to hate a punter. Stats show he's average, and all I see is fans kill him. He doesn't get paid. He actually does. Well, I don't know it, when he got signed. I thought he was the highest paid punter in football, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But obviously, he was signed, I think, 2 years ago. So maybe the salaries have changed since then. But I thought he was relatively highly paid for a punter. And Irish Rover, man, thank you very much, man. Stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, buddy. And let's see. But again, he gets too much practice. That's the biggest problem with him. Keith, what's up, buddy? When will we learn that Belichick's tree is always a no-go? Yeah, it really is, and when we brought in Judge, I looked around at all the scenarios and I said, okay, look at Flores with the Dolphins. They're 1-5. So they're not looking good. Obviously, Patricia got fired with the Lions coming into this season. So there has never been a successful head coach under Bill Belichick. And maybe some of that's coincidental, but it's hard to really, truly believe that it's completely coincidental when you look at all these coaches that learned under Belichick that just have not succeeded in other areas. And, of course, a lot of them have gone to bad situations. But that is one thing. And that and Tom Brady obviously going to Tampa Bay and being very successful, those are 2 things that – and there's not much you can do to damage Bill Belichick's reputation and legacy. The guy is still – probably the greatest head coach of all time. But those are 2 things that people will be able to hang over his head. They'll say, well, look what Brady did when he left. Look what you did after he left. And look at what everybody who learned under you did when they tried to become head coaches. So, yeah, it's definitely been a recurring theme in terms of people that have left Bill Belichick. Hasn't worked out. Davey, man, thank you very much. Judge is the top priority. He simply doesn't know what he's doing. Let Garrett be the head coach. Kitchens, OC, and play caller. Fire Judge and Getty. Davey coming in with the, I think that is a take that a lot of Giants fans would not like. But Davey, I love you, man. And I cannot see the New York Giants fan base getting behind promoting Jason Garrett to be the head coach. Me personally, and Joe Judge has been super disappointing. Me personally, I would rather see Judge finish out the year and hope he could progress as a young head coach than appointing Jason Garrett to be the guy that takes over for the last 10 or 11 games, and a guy that you have to think is probably not going to be the answer going forward. I would rather see Judge stay at the position for the rest of the year and then see where it goes from there. I can't imagine any Giant. I shouldn't say any. I'm sure some would be, but I can't imagine a lot of Giants fans would be very happy if they went and did that move. DeGrom, thank you very much. I don't know why everyone's saying the Jets situation is worse. We have a first-time head coach. Who said it was worse? I never said it was worse. I think the Giants right now have the worst situation. When I mentioned the Jets earlier, it was based off the last 8 or 9 years, historically speaking. They're probably the only team that's been worse than the Giants. I don't know if you came in and heard that differently, but in terms of the current situation, and I don't know who you've heard that from, the Jets situation is much better. I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to Zach Wilson, but you got a young emerging offensive line. You guys are at the beginning of your rebuild. The Giants are at the point where this rebuild should be starting to accelerate. You guys got multiple first-round draft picks. So, no, I think the Jets right now, if you ask me if I'm being completely honest, are in a better situation than the New York Giants. A rookie quarterback, and we're missing Lawson. We have the rebuild excuse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think there's a team. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's – I'd have to think long and hard. Maybe somebody in the chat could come up with a team. Maybe the Eagles. I don't think there's a team in a much worse situation right now than the New York Giants. Maybe the Eagles. Nicky Sadman, thank you very much. The D did what they could. McKinney finally broke out. Should have had 3 interceptions. Leo showed up. Offense just can't do anything with the injuries. DJ clearly not okay. So you think it was the concussion why DJ played the way? I mean, I don't know. It's possible. I thought it was DJ kind of just trying to do more than what he should have, because he knew the team was not doing well and they were injured and he was trying to make plays he shouldn't have been trying to make. That's just my opinion. And I actually thought the D played relatively well for the first half of this game. And they had opportunities to create some more turnovers. They dropped a lot of interceptions. I'll say that. There was like three opportunities where the Giants could have had picks and they couldn't come up with them outside of the picks that they had. Stafford made a lot of risky throws in this game. But yeah, overall, obviously, the defense wasn't very good as that game wore along. But the first half, I thought they actually did pretty good. The offense just couldn't help them out. And then, of course, we wore down at the end of the first half, like we always do. The Rizzo, the Jizza, he says, Jones isn't the problem, but also not the solution. I think that's fair. I think that's fair for sure. The team hasn't won since he's been here. So how could you say he's the solution? He hasn't proven that he's able to overcome the situation that he's been given. But to be fair, and this is what I always say, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks that could come into this situation and be successful. And that's the problem that I have with forcing a quarterback pick. If you're blown away, you do it, of course. But I don't want to just take a quarterback to take a quarterback. That's always been my mindset. And I just don't think the New York Giants, they have one of the worst situations in football in terms of supporting a quarterback with the way that their offensive line is built. I want to get, for me, if I was a GM, I want to get that fixed first before I really start to think about moving on from the quarter. I'm not, you get a stopgap, but before I really make another big time investment in a high draft pick on a quarterback, because then that's another 3 or 4 year commitment where you don't have a good situation for that quarterback to thrive. So that's just that's just my mindset. Now, of course, if, like I always say, if it's Trevor Lawrence, you take him. But by all accounts, the quarterbacks in this year's draft class are not that highly thought of. True Apples, man, thank you very much. I want picks for Peppers, Shep, others. I'm done. If you get something for Shep, but I don't think you would get much. Peppers, you probably get something, not much though. Maybe a 4th or 5th round pick. You wouldn't get much for them. But yeah, if you get something for Peppers and you know he's not going to be in a long-term plan, and you think it would be comparable to what you would get in terms of a compensation pick, I see no problem with doing it at the trade deadline. Larry J says, give me the hog. Give me the hogs. If we can't win in the trenches, we can't win at all. Get some huge offensive linemen and some defensive ends in the draft. That's where it starts for me, man. That's why I had the reaction I did when we drafted Andrew Thomas. I was excited. And I want them to continue to address the hogs. Like you just said, man, that was my reaction when we drafted them. Give me the hogs. But yeah, man, we definitely need help on both sides of the ball in the trenches. Sean says, I will be one happy man if Kellen Moore is the coach of this team come next season. All right. Let me get a show of hands in the chat. I'm going to scroll down because I'm curious to get everybody's take on this. what is everybody's what is everybody's thought on potentially bringing in Kellen Moore? Because I think a big reason why people don't like Jason Garrett, and there's a lot more to it than just this, obviously he's not the most innovative guy in the world, is because he's a former Cowboy. What Giant fan would want to bring in Kellen Moore? Kellen Moore, of course, supposedly doing very good things with the Dallas Cowboys as the offensive coordinator. Somebody said yes. Somebody said yes to Kellen Moore. A lot of people saying no. Most people are saying no. Most people are saying no. A couple of people are saying yes. My thoughts on Kellen Moore is this, Sean, and maybe I'm wrong. I think the Cowboys are grooming him to be the next head coach, and I think he knows that. I don't see him leaving Dallas. Much like Jason Garrett when he was there, I think Kellen Moore is a guy that was handpicked by Jerry Jones, and I think he's grooming him to be his next puppet. That's what I call Jason Garrett. I think he's going to be the future head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. I think McCarthy is not going to be there long term. I think Kellen Moore will be the guy that takes over for him. That's just my guess. Of course, if he gets blown away with an opportunity, maybe we'll take it. But I don't think most Giant fans would be in love with getting Kellen Moore. Tim says, win, lose, or draw, the streams are always a bright spot. Thanks, man. Hey, man. I say whenever I do these, man, it's a bright spot for me too, man, because you guys calm me down too, get an opportunity to talk about the team and get my thoughts out there and kind of bounce off your thoughts as well. So I appreciate all you guys, man, for all the support you always show and coming into the streams. RB Brooklyn says, this is a weak quarterback class. DJ looks good when given time. Even Mahomes looked normal. Didn't look normal, I think he meant to say, with a weak line. Remember the Super Bowl. Would love to see what Herbert could do with these lines and bad coaches. Keep DJ, fix the line. I mean, what I'm going to say is, again, unless you feel like Herbert, if there's a quarterback like Herbert, you take him. Like Justin Herbert, to me, Herbert last year had a really bad situation. He still did really well. He threw 31 touchdowns. Chargers had a bad offensive line. And he was still able to overcome that. That's the type of prospect, if he's there, you take. But I don't see a Justin Herbert in this draft. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe my opinion will change as the draft draws near. I just don't see it. So I agree with your sentiment that I don't think DJ's the main problem with this team. I said that I've been a Giant fan for my whole life. I said the same thing about Eli Manning when people were trashing him for the last 8 years of his career. I don't think Eli Manning was the main problem with the team. The team was the main problem with the team. The quarterback's obviously going to get the main blame, but I always said to myself, how could you watch the way that Eli Manning played in 2011, where he was a top 5 quarterback in the league or damn near close? I thought, incredible. I think he broke the record for most fourth quarter comebacks, whatever else it may be. How could you watch the way he played in 2011 and 2 years later see how much he fell off when he was like 30 years old and be like, oh yeah, he just completely fell off the map? That's not the way it works. The team failed Eli Manning. They didn't build the proper team, and this team sucks. And that's what I worry about. If you bring in a quarterback that's not otherworldly, they're not going to succeed. And that's always been my opinion with this team. And it's why I was not happy when we took Daniel Jones. It wasn't because I hated him as a prospect. I knew the situation he was going to be put into, and I didn't view him as a quarterback that could overcome that, because very few can. We got to fix the rest of this team. Eric, man, thank you very much. I say fire Gettleman, Garrett and Graham, and keep Judge. I say fire Gettleman, Garrett and Graham, and keep Judge. Well, here's what I'll say, and I get your take on that, but here's what I'll say to that. If you're going to keep Judge, I don't think he'd be happy if you got rid of Patrick Graham, right? That's like his guy. That's his main assistant. So I can't see the owner forcing Judge to fire Patrick. At that point, just fire Judge. That's just my take on it. But Garrett, I could definitely see moving on at the end of the year for sure. I think Patrick Graham and Joe Judge are probably linked at the hip unless Graham were to get a head coaching opportunity, which obviously I don't see happening after the way this defense has performed this year. Graham's probably punching himself in the head right now in terms of deciding not to look for head coaching opportunities last year. But Eric, man, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. Let me see. I think I'm caught up. No, Killian. I missed Killian's here, but I got you here. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody else. Killian, man, thank you so much, man. Says, I'm flying into Jersey next weekend for the game on Sunday for my first game. Not even sure if it could be enjoyable if they play similar to today. Yeah, well, Killian, what I'll say is, man, hopefully you get there a couple days early and you get to enjoy New York City. If that, I think you're from Ireland, so hopefully you get to enjoy New York City. Maybe you get a tour of the stadium. I don't know. I just hope that the team will put a better product on the field for you. I'm not going to give any expectations for any game going forward. We have a lot of injuries, and the team disappoints me every week, even though I picked against them. I think every week outside of week 1, And I said they were going to lose to Washington. Week 1 and 3, I picked them. Outside of that, I haven't picked them all year, and I'm not picking them next week. So I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they win, but I'm not going to go in with raised expectations. But regardless, hope you have a great time. I'm sure you will. You never been to a football game before, so I hope you enjoy it, man. Let's see what we got here. Diehard Giants fan. He says, "What's up, Dana?" He says, "Should have went with Slater in the draft. Not you, but do you expect a rookie to come in and do better? This class is weak. Build the trenches and then draft your guy. Respect." I mean, that's what I've been saying since I've been on YouTube for the most part. I look at the Cowboys. I look at the Browns. Like, could anybody in this chat, I'm curious to get your guys' take on this. Could anybody in this chat watch Baker Mayfield and think that he'd be successful with the New York Giants? Do you think Baker Mayfield would be successful with the New York Giants? Because Baker Mayfield's successful with the Browns. He's winning games. You think he'd be successful here? I don't. I think he'd fail miserably. He's winning games with the Cleveland Browns. I think he would suck with the New York Giants. So that's the way I look at it, man. Just look at the quarterbacks around the league right now. And again, there are some that could overcome this, but I don't think most can. You got to fix the rest of this team. But Dyer, man, thank you very much. And Anthony, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. He says, Jones is honestly the only guy who shows any heart and pride on this team. Also, Garrett and Judge should be fired for calling damn quarterback sneak 7 days after getting a damn concussion. It's a good point by you, and I didn't really bring it up in the stream today. They did it twice, actually, with Daniel Jones. That's a good point by you. And I think what I did say was, where was that last week? When they did the quarterback sneak, where was that last week? Like, you were on the goal, you were on the half-yard line. Why didn't you do it then? Like, that's the most appropriate time to do it. It's a good point by you. But the one thing I will say, Anthony, if he's not capable, if you're scared to do that, he probably should be playing. But it's a very good point by you coming off the concussion. You want to avoid head contact as much as you possibly can. And if there was ever a week you wouldn't run a play like that, it would be this one. But yeah, where was the call last week? That's when you should have run the QB sneak. Let's see. And DJ, man, thank you very much. He said, DJ, what's going on, buddy? Thoughts on Brian Daboll for head coach? Yeah, I know he's your guy. Listen, man, I mean, he's been phenomenal with the Buffalo Bills by all accounts, right? I think he's been the OC there since 2018, I believe. But obviously, he's done a tremendous job with Josh Allen. He's widely credited for it. Getting Stephon Diggs obviously assisted in that as well. Obviously, having Josh Allen certainly doesn't hurt. I think he's one of the 4 or 5 most talented quarterbacks in the sport. But yeah, I mean, he's known to be a very good offensive mind. I'm sure he's a guy that will be a hot commodity this coming offseason in terms of teams that may be looking for head coaches. So that's the type of guy I'd want to bring in if we moved on from Joe Judge, an offensive-minded head coach. And maybe that would be the guy. But yeah, I know you really like him. I know a lot of people do as well. And Eric says any quarterback will suck with us, even Tom Brady. I'm not gonna say any quarterback. I do think that there are some quarterbacks, few and far between, that could overcome a situation like this, but it's few and far between. And to me, it's like a lottery ticket. Most cannot. Most cannot. I'll say that right now. JD, man, thank you very much. He says GM on down has to go. So you're saying GM, head coach, offense coordinator, defense coordinator, get rid of it all, blow it all up. Teams that win have top-tier coaching and effective schemes. No amount of talent makes up for us getting out-coached and out-schemed. A good system can work with a new guy year in and year out. I mean, all you got to do is look at the San Francisco 49ers, right? You look at them when they got Shanahan in there, they completely changed, right? Their offense all of a sudden became really good. They got him from the Atlanta Falcons, and they became quickly a Super Bowl contender. So I agree that, if this doesn't get much better, we're definitely going to have to make a change at the coaching staff, and the Giants are going to have to think completely different in terms of what type of coach they're looking to bring in. I agree with you. And let's see. But I also agree with this sentiment too by Mike. I agree with that. It's very hard to win when you have the amount of injuries that the New York Giants have had. I also agree with that. I think that, but at the same time, I still think Judge has been underwhelming this year, if I'm being completely fair. And Tuto, he says, New York Giants need a program and structure. Doesn't matter who you bring in and why they suck. It's the ownership and management who should build the program first. Of course. I mean, it always starts at the top. I say that to you every time. It's the owner, it's the GM, then it's the coaches. The owner's the guy that hires the GM. The GM's the guy that's supposed to be responsible for hiring the coaches. And the GM is obviously responsible for bringing in the players. So It always starts at the top, man, and getting the right blend in terms of the type of head coach or the type of GM. And I thought, when Judge first came in here, that him and Gettleman actually were kind of on the same wavelength. And I think they kind of are. It's just that wavelength's not working. Sean, he says, crazy that we already have to talk about this, but have you been looking at this year's class? If so, who's your ideal picks round one? I mean, not a lot, a little bit here and there, nothing crazy. Evan Neal's obviously a guy I've talked about a lot on my channel, the tackle out of Alabama. That guy's a beast. He's like 6'7.5", 350. I've seen a couple of Alabama. The guy's a monster. He's gonna be a high pick in this year's draft. Obviously, Thibodeau's a guy that's very popular out of Oregon. If we're picking that high, if we elect to go edge rusher, and then you got Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. Those are kind of the three hot names that a lot of people have talked about in terms of potential first round picks for the New York Giants. Outside of that, I haven't done a ton of research yet. Unfortunately, this year I may be doing a lot more research by like week 10 or 11. Hopefully that will not be the case. But I haven't done a ton of research, but those are a couple names, and obviously everybody knows about them. I'm not making excuses. This team sucks. I literally said we're the worst. That's what I love when people come in and say, stop making excuses. I don't get it's not an excuse. I literally said they're the worst team in the NFL over the last 10 years. I literally said this team does not know how to build a proper football team. That's not excuses. It's not excuses. Maybe you're talking to somebody in the chat. Quinn, man, thank you very much. I hope we don't trade for a cornerback at the deadline. That would be ridiculous if they did that. It would be ridiculous. They can't do that. I know that there was a rumor that they were potentially looking to trade for a cornerback. That would be ridiculous if they did that. Let me just make sure if I didn't miss anybody here. JD I got, Sean I got, Quinn I got. Did I miss Quinn? I think I missed Quinn. Quinn says I did. I got Quinn. Amid, thank you so much, man. He says, Chris, blow this team, trade everybody, including the ball boy, and tank. That's my therapy for the rest of the season. Hey, man, I am not gonna come down on fans that have that mentality, that say that this team's not going anywhere fast. I want to get as high of a draft pick as I possibly can. I will not say that, but I'm not gonna come down on you for feeling that way. We're 1-5. And we're not going anywhere fast. The team. I posted this on Twitter today. I said in my live stream yesterday. Obviously, there's probably some people in here that did not hear me say it last night. The New York Giants have 16 wins. 16. And 19 wins since 2017. But since Gettleman's been here, they have 16 wins since 2018. 16. 5 of them are against a starting quarterback not on the Washington football team. 5 of them. 3 of them are against Jameis Winston. So they've beaten 3 starting quarterbacks not on the Washington football team since 2018. So how can I come on here and say, yeah, no, patience. No, there's no more patience. This team has not proven to have any progression. DJ says, we need to find our Sean McVay. That'd be great. He's one of the best head coaches in football. Pimp named Slickback says, Murray had a far worse offensive line in 2019. Herbert's offensive line was worse in 2020. If a GM sees a quarterback with top 5 potential, then go for it. I agree. If there's a quarterback with top 5 potential, you always take it. It's the most important position on a football team. I just don't think there's a quarterback. Me personally, and maybe my opinion will change, based off a lot of things I've read and heard, and I'm sure a pimp named Slickback, and I say this every time, people that desperately want a quarterback are going to convince themselves that Malik Willis is a top 5 potential quarterback. They're going to convince themselves that, insert quarterback is a top 5 potential quarterback. But if the Giants don't feel that way, you do not force a quarterback pick. And let's see what we got. Sean says, what Gettleman pick hasn't regressed after their first season? How many first and second round picks are we going to waste? Well, I mean, I would say Thomas has not regressed. Obviously, he's had unfortunate injuries this year, but he's gotten better, actually. So there's one. But outside of that, I mean, obviously, Jones regressed big time, and I think a lot of that was due to the fact with all the change on the team. But regardless, he regressed big time. Saquon Barkley, of course, regressed mainly due to the injury in year 2. Yeah, I mean, outside of Thomas, and he's now banged up, I would say that there's not a guy year 2 that got better. And Ray, man, Ray, what's up, man? Stand up, new member. Thank you so much, man. And Orsiniv says, love you. I love you. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. Maybe I'm caught up here. I've been reading them off the phone, but I probably should be pulling them up here now. I got a pimp named Slick. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was reading them on the phone. I should have just been reading them here. I was caught up. Quinn says, I hope you know I got him. DJ. And I got the Gettleman pick. Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. And our center man, I love you too, man. Thank you so much for tuning in the stream, man. Thank you for all the support. Mike says they should put a circus tent. They should put a circus tent over MetLife Stadium. Yeah, it's been a circus for a long time, man. And I know as a fan base, we're not used to this, right? Because, I mean, of the three teams I root for, the New York Giants are far and away the most accomplished franchise. Being that I'm a Mets and a Knicks fan. But the sad reality right now for Giants fans is those two teams are in a much better spot than the Giants are. TK says, am I the only one who thinks we should keep Judge? No, I think there's Giants fans out there that think that we should keep Judge. I don't think you're the only one. And I honestly see both sides of it. I do. I see both sides of it. My issue with keeping Judge, the main issue I have with keeping Judge is if you're looking to bring in an outsider for the general manager, it's going to limit your potential hiring candidates. So that's my issue with it. That's my main issue with it. And Hamid, man, thank you very much. He says, John Mara probably caught that James Dolan disease of the Knicks in the late 90s. Bad ownership. Time to sell. I would love if they sold. Like I just said, I'm a Mets fan, and I was ecstatic when Uncle Stevie bought the team, Steve Cohen. Even though we didn't do so good in our first year, I would love it if John Mara sold. The unfortunate reality is that's not going to happen anytime soon. If he did, Steve Tisch would probably just take over the team, I would assume, being that he's a partial owner. But I don't see John Mara selling this team anytime soon. I think he's obviously proud of his father was the previous owner, and I just don't see it happening. In the NFL, usually gets passed down from family member to family member. But you guys know, if you watch my channel, I'm not the biggest Mara fan in the world. I respect him. He seems like a good man, but I think he has a lot to do with some of the problems that this New York Giants football team has had in recent history. So I would be happy. I just don't see it happening. Mara and Tisch both need to go. Hey, man, I wouldn't be against it at all, man. Tisch to me is kind of just an investor, right? He's like the Hollywood guy. He doesn't really do anything. He's just an investor, and he's the guy that, like, when the team's doing bad, you'll hear him be like really vocal about it. But I feel like Mara's the guy. Mara's the guy with all of his hands on all of it. Tisch is just, to me, just like a guy that has stock in the team. I don't really view him as like a true owner. Mara's the owner. I don't think DJ should have played this week. To me, he looked. That's a fair opinion, D Grant. Judges lost a locker room morale is very low. If I we'll see next week, but I agree that it looked like it was at least. It didn't look like the same effort that I've been accustomed to under Joe Judge. I'll say that at the end of that game today. They honored our last Super Bowl during this. Yeah, I saw that today on the TV. I was like, oh my God, man. Adoree signing was the worst offseason move. I mean, Adoree's been okay. He's definitely not lived up to that contract. Maybe call me crazy. And I know he's a fan favorite. I know a lot of fans will get on me for this. And I love him. He's one of my favorite players on the team, and he's a captain. The one offseason move, and I've said it countless times, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, was Logan Ryan. I think that was the worst offseason move. I didn't. And Rudolph's, yeah, somebody said Rudolph, but Rudolph's only a 1-year commitment. I think that money could have been spent so much better elsewhere on this football team. I didn't like the Logan Ryan move. We talk about how we let Kevin Zeitler walk. That was money that could have been given to him. We talk about letting Dalvin Tomlinson walk. That was money that could have been given to him. You just drafted McKinney, and you still had Jabril Peppers. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. And Tyler, thank you so much for being a member, buddy. He says, imagine if the Bears lost the rest of their games and we had 2 top 10 picks. We could get Neal and Linderbaum. I'd be in hog heaven if they did that, man. I'd be in hog heaven if they did that. I know that's why they brought him back. He's a vocal leader. I get it. I understand it. I think the money could have been better spent elsewhere. That's just my opinion. And I like Logan Ryan. He's a great guy. He's one of the captains of the football team. I love that he's a Giant. But let's put it this way. If I was the general manager, probably wouldn't have elected to give him that salary. Let's see what we got here. O-line and D-line with the top 2 picks, in my opinion. Of course, I agree. James, what's up, James? Gettleman made a huge error pushing his chips in on Leonard Williams. Yeah, I think he was kind of put between a rock and a hard place, but he did that when he traded for him, and then he didn't decide to extend him after year 1, and he was kind of put between a rock and a hard place. Like, basically, what I think happened with Leonard Williams was the Giants obviously tried to work out a contract extension the year before, And they weren't willing to meet his demands. And they said, all right, we're going to franchise tag you, and it's going to be a prove-it year. And Leonard Williams went out there and proved himself. And at that point, the New York Giants had really no choice but to sign him. Obviously, being that Gettleman, traded for the guy. And, you had to figure that they were going to sign him at that point, and that's what happened. They put him in a prove-it situation, and he proved it. Amit, man, thank you very much. All the Giants YouTubers need to call up A-Rod and see if he and J-Lo can convince Mara to sell. I don't know how good of an owner Alex Rodriguez would be. I know Alex Rodriguez has he tried to own the Mets, actually. Him and like a big group tried to own the Mets. I don't know, maybe. The only thing I want from my owner, and this is just me, baseball's different, right? Because baseball, there's no salary cap. So Steve Cohen's great because he's got $13 billion, and the next richest owner is like $3 billion. So I love it because the Mets, I think, in the future are going to be able to spend like crazy. But in sports like football and basketball, there's a salary cap. You can only spend a certain amount. In football and basketball, the only thing I want from my owner is this. Just write the checks. That's it. Write the checks. That's it. I don't want you to have any say in terms of personnel decisions that the GM is going to make, in terms of, what coach we should. I want the GM to make that decision. If you're an owner, you don't have a lot of, you own the football team. It is your job to write checks, and that's it. Obviously you're going to appoint, the head coach, the GM, or whatever. You're going to be in on those decisions. But I don't want my owner having any say in terms of players that we draft, players that we trade for. I don't want my owner to be influenced by the fan base, and I'm a fan, okay? I would love for my opinion to be heard, but I don't think a team should ever listen to the fan base. We're fans for a reason. We're fanatics, right? We're emotional. We don't think all the time logically. I want my owner to be even keeled. I don't want him to be influenced by the fan base. I don't want him writing checks, and I don't want him making any. I want him writing checks, and I don't want him making any personnel decisions. I want him to leave that up to the general manager and the head coach. That's what I want my owner to do. Period. End of story. And Sonny, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. He says, maybe the 2011 Super Bowl blinded ownership, but the truth is that things have been falling since Plaxico Burress shot himself, for sure. Obviously, the New York Giants won the Super Bowl shortly thereafter in 2011, but I even said it today on Twitter when I think license plate guy tweeted something out, and I saw it, and I wrote on. I said, Giants really haven't known how to build a football team since like 2009, 2010. 2011, the New York Giants won the Super Bowl, but they won the Super Bowl because Victor Cruz showed up and he became the greatest wide receiver like ever. And Eli Manning decided to become Joe Montana one season, and they put the team on their back. The defense got healthy in the postseason, but that offensive line wasn't good. We had the 32nd ranked rushing attack that year, the 27th ranked defense. New York Giants haven't been able to build a football team really since about 2009. After, like you just said, after Burress shot himself pretty much, maybe 2010. And it's been a disaster ever since then. And Alvin, man, thank you very much. We need to hire a young, smart football man as GM who is analytically driven and have him clean house from top to bottom. Yeah, I think I'm not the biggest analytic guy, but I do think it needs to be something that's taken into account. I didn't like what I heard out of Judge when he kind of downplayed the analytics. I know it was taken a little bit out of context. I don't want a guy that's like strictly computer driven, but I also want a guy that's open to all different types of things to help him assist him in becoming a better head coach and general manager. So I don't like a guy that's strictly analytically driven, but I do like somebody that is at least willing to use it as a tool. Jeff says, Mara is too clueless to find a Sean McVay. The man clearly does not recognize football-minded talent. You're right. I mean, in terms of history, I can't argue that, right? I mean, that's kind of been the book on Mara, over the course of history. He's very safe, right? The guys that he brings in are guys that he has familiarity to, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I also posted this on Twitter. I was just thinking because I was thinking about the coaches that he was bringing in as I was saying that. New York Giants, if they fire Joe Judge, which is possible, will have 5 coaches since the year 2015. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 coaches since 1969. Interesting stuff. V-Rock, man, thank you very much. He says, do you think we're sellers by the trade deadline? If so, what's your first move? I mean, my first move, if I could trade, I mean, the one guy that I think that we could potentially trade that may be able to get us like a decent amount of value is James Bradberry. And I don't know if Bradberry's going to be in the long-term plans of this team, and I love James Bradberry, but he's only got 1 year left on his contract. He's about, I think he's approaching 30. And if you could get, say, a third-round pick for James Bradberry, I'd consider it. He's only got 1 more year left on his contract to begin with. If you cut him, I think you save $13 million at year's end. And if you're a team that thinks that there potentially could be in rebuild mode in the near future, it may make sense to make that move. I think he's the guy. If I had to pick one guy on this team right now, Barkley's not going to be traded. I see people saying Barkley's not going to be traded. He's not going to be traded because he's hurt. So I'm like saying, realistic possibility guys. Evan Ingram ain't getting you nothing. You saw what Zach Ertz got from the Cardinals. I think it was like a 5th or a 6th round pick. Peppers ain't getting you nothing. So if you're asking me a guy that could maybe get you something, James Bradbury is the first name that pops to my head. And maybe you get a 3rd round pick for him. I don't think you're getting anything crazy for him, but I would listen to offers for all my players. Let's put it that way. And Sean, man, thank you very much. He says, who's the guy they consider for GM last year from he signed with he's the GM now for the Texans. Somebody in the chat say it. What's his name? I don't know why I'm forgetting it. But he's the GM now for the Texans. He obviously would not be the Giants GM because Nick Caserio. There you go. Thank you, Garrett. Nick Caserio. Yeah. He signed on with the Texans and he's already made a bunch of questionable moves over there. But yeah, he will not be available. He's with the Houston Texans. Diehard Giants fan, he says, thick-headed Mara needs to see an empty stadium for a while. He needs to learn to hire from the outside. Well, I don't think we're going to have a filled-up stadium at the end of this year. I'm going to tell you what, Bad Dog myself, and, I'm hoping you're there too, Diehard, like you were last time, if you could come, of course. And hopefully a lot of people in this chat get to go. I don't blame you if you don't. We're going to be going to the Giants-Eagles game, and I don't expect to see a full stadium there. And if it is full, I expect to see a lot of Eagles fans, the way this team is playing right now. Tuto, he says, all New York Giants needs a talented, experienced GM who could turn the corner and get everything in order to build a smart program. Listen, from an optimistic standpoint, if you could get the right guy, there are instances where it could flip real quick. It flipped real quick with the Arizona Cardinals, right? I mean, they were in a very similar situation. They had the first pick. They were in a very similar situation where we are now, and right now they're undefeated, right? So it could flip real quick if you get the right guy in here and he makes the right moves and he builds the team the right way, and we have draft capital in order to do so. So it could happen, but you got to get the right guy in here and you got to start doing things the right way as quickly as possible. Of course, Kyler Murray certainly helps that. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I still think it'll take probably 2 years if we go the route of bringing an outsider to get to where we want to be as fans. Saint says, don't sweat coach turnover. Look at the Steelers and what those 3 coaches did their first 2 years. They showed progress. That's why Judge should go. I'm not trying to advocate for keeping Joe Judge, even though I hate turnover. You know that if you watch my channel. But I'm not trying to say that we need to keep Judge because of that. I'm just saying it just goes to show you how poorly run our organization is. The fact that our owner has gone through 5 head coaches since 2015. If we decide to move on from Joe Judge, he doesn't bring in the right guys for the job. And some of it definitely goes to the GM as well. But it just goes to show you how poorly run of an organization we are. And when you constantly flip coaches, it becomes less and less of a desirable landing spot for future potential coaches because they look at it and they're like, I may not get a real opportunity there. But thank you very much, Saint, man. I appreciate it. And Blue says, Mara needs to hire a GM and coach that he don't like. Yeah, that's you're probably right about that. He needs to hire somebody that he has no attachments to. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's just a disaster. John says, bring Ernie Accorsi. How old is Ernie Accorsi? I mean, my God. Let me see. Ernie Accorsi, he is, and that would kind of be doing the same. He's 79 years old. That would kind of be doing the same thing that Mara always does. He brings in guys that he's close ties to. Listen, Ernie Accorsi's phenomenal. Ernie, you go back and look at Ernie Accorsi's resume. The guy made a ton of great moves, and he is obviously the main contributor to the 2008 Super Bowl. Being that Reese was just there for the draft, and obviously he was an assistant under him. And in 2011, of course, he was still probably at least half responsible for that Super Bowl. A lot of the players on that team, and obviously the most important players, being Eli Manning, was an Accorsi guy, were his as well. So he did a great job. He wasn't here when they won the Super Bowls, but he definitely had a large part to do with, why they won those Super Bowls. Mike, man, thank you very much. You, Bad Dog, and the others should just show up for the tailgate, have fun, and not go to the game. Just tell them, Bad Dog, during the live stream today. We may just do a 2-hand touch game in the parking lot, and maybe we'll get more. Maybe there'll be more people that watch that than the game itself. Can we talk Ozzie Newsome out of retirement? Ozzie Newsome, of course, did a great job with the Baltimore Ravens when he was the GM over there. Again, how old is he? He's 65. It's possible. He did a really good job with the Ravens. I don't remember why they moved on from Newsome. I don't remember, but I remember he had a good reputation with the Ravens there for a bit. Adam, man, thank you very much. The Giants haven't been as historically good as we think. 10 seasons of 10-plus wins, 90.0, 10 out of 31 seasons. Needs to be big changes made at the top. I mean, Adam, in terms of consist. Oh, he retired. Is that what? Okay, he retired. Oh, he didn't get fired. He retired. Okay. In terms of consistency, the New York Giants have been the complete opposite of consistency. I actually said that in my Discord the other day, right? You look at the Giants' history, the beginning of the Super Bowl era, they didn't really start to get good until what, like 83, 84 in that area, right? The early 80s. And then they were really good up until like 90, like 83 to like 91. They were really good. They had like an 8-year stretch where they were really good. That was like the golden age of the New York Giants. And then they had like 2 good years after that in the 90s, 93, 97, they made the playoffs. 2000, they made the Super Bowl, and they lost, of course. And then they get Eli, and then for the first 7 or 8 years of Eli's career, they were good. 2005 to 2012, they didn't have a losing season. They were 500 or better every year, and they were constantly competitive. But outside of that 8-year stretch with the first half of Eli Manning's career and that 8-year stretch in the 80s, the New York Giants have not been a consistent organization. Anybody that is being honest would tell you the same. Let's see what we got. Damien, he says, isn't Mara a billionaire? How do you not know how to hire and fire people? An NFL team is a business. Yeah, I think Mara's biggest weakness is, and he's got several, but Mara's biggest weakness is he's loyal to a fault. And the other thing that I think that Mara has done very poorly in recent years, and I don't think this was always the case, I think he listens to the fan base too much, and I think he makes decisions based, a lot of the times, he's influenced by the fan base. And again, like I said earlier, I don't think an owner should ever do that, but he's also loyal. He's too loyal. He's loyal to a fault in terms of guys that he has ties to, that he's worked with, that have been New York Giants in the past. Obviously, people are going to say Eli Manning, so on and so forth. So I think that's Mara's biggest weakness. And Mike, man, what's going on, buddy, man? Glad to see you, man. Brooklyn going to be a bust because Kyrie ain't no player. Kyrie's good, man. The guy just might not play, right? If the Giants decide to move on from Judge, you want experienced head coach or defensive coordinator? I mean, the first thing, if the Giants move on from Judge, the first thing you worry about is who's the GM. That will be the start, I guess, of my offseason content. If the New York Giants elected to blow it up, and I'm sure they'll have a GM search, and that's what you worry about first. And then you try to find out what that general manager's philosophy is, and he tries to find the head coach that best fits what he's looking to do as a general manager. But I think the first thing you got to worry about, and I'm assuming if we fire Judge, there's going to be a new GM. You got to worry about is what coach best fits the type of team that he's looking to build, right? You look at the Arizona Cardinals; they thought Cliff Kingsbury fit what they were looking to do, obviously, and he was kind of a questionable head coach hire. It's worked. Amid, man, thank you very much, man. On a more serious note, I know there have been some rumblings from old vet players about the overconditioning of Joe Judge and his players. Can this be one of the main reasons for the alarming issues on the team? Yeah, no, somebody said that earlier, and I think it's possible. I mean, there's no way I could know that, but I think it's possible. I think Golden Tate brought that up like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. It's possible. Some of these injuries, absolutely not. The DJ injury has nothing to do with conditioning. The Saquon Barkley injury has nothing to do with conditioning. But maybe some of the hamstring injuries that we've seen with Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, that's possible. The ankle sprain, I don't know with Kadarius Toney, but I think there's at least it's possible that some of the injuries could be due to overconditioning. But I don't know. Some of that may have to do with people that are just looking for reasons to bash Joe Judge at this point, but I'm not going to say that's not right. It's possible. Not all the injuries. Some of the injuries are definitely not related at all to conditioning. John says Wellington Mara and George Steinbrenner Sr. are saying, what the blank are their sons doing? Everything they left them, a disgrace. Tish should take over. Yeah, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I will say this, man, as an outsider looking in as far as George goes, George's biggest fault, and I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a Met fan, but George's biggest fault when I was watching baseball was that he kind of thought a lot like a fan, George Sr., where he was very reactionary. Like he would fire and fire and fire and fire, and then he finally calmed down a little bit, and the Yankees got some stability. But that was always his biggest problem. But the new owner, his son, they don't know when to put the chips in the middle. George Steinbrenner used to be, we need this, go out and get them. These new owners for the Yankees, I don't know. I just feel like they don't know when to go all in. And the one time they did, they won a World Series in 2009. Fire the players. Well, yeah, it's hard to do that, man. Can't really fire well, you could elect not to re-sign them next year. Yeah, George spent on the best of the best. Yeah, George did what he had to do to try to win, right? When I think George had to learn as an owner that he couldn't be as reactionary as he was, but once he did that, obviously he gave you guys a lot of sustained success. I met George at Tampa Downs. Nice guy. That's awesome, man. Daniel Jones only had Sterling Shepard to throw to, who stunk after Tony went down. Then Thomas got hurt again. Jones isn't superhuman. He's not superhuman, but what I will say, I'm not going to completely excuse his play today. He made a lot of decisions that you cannot make. He made a lot of really bad throws today. The fumble, I'm not going to so much put on him. That was kind of a blindside hit where I think it was Matt Parrott that got completely destroyed off the edge. But Jones made like 3 or 4 throws where you're like, there's no excuses. Like, what are you doing? So it was definitely his worst game of the year. But obviously, like you said, he didn't have a lot of help today. Kyle says, man, thank you very much. He says, who bears most of the brunt, Gettleman or Mara? Well, I mean, I would say Mara, but you can't fire Mara. So Gettleman. Gettleman's the guy where you could make a change. Mara's not going to fire himself. But I would say Mara, because I think Mara's the only reason why Gettleman's here to begin with. So I think it's Mara, man. And I say it all the time. 2015 is where it really stems for me, when he fired Coughlin and he kept Jerry Reese. And then Reese kind of put us in the situation where the New York Giants were a very undesirable location. And I, in my heart, and I will go to my grave believing this, I really believe the only reason why Gettleman even got the job was because Gettleman was willing to stick with Eli Manning. And Mara obviously saw the fan reaction after Eli Manning, got benched, rightfully so, for Geno Smith. And I think that's why he elected to go with Dave Gettleman. But I think the only reason why Gettleman was even hired was because of John Mara. So if you're asking me who's the biggest problem, it's John Mara. I think John Mara's been the guy that's put us dug this hole as deep as it is. Let's see what we got here. Teddy, do you think Judge has a gift of gab? Well, I mean, obviously a lot of people feel that way right now. He sold a lot of members of this fan base last year on hope, and myself included. I mean, he's a coach. I want to root for him. I'm a Giant fan. I got behind him. He seemed like a smart guy. He seemed like a guy that, I really wanted to root for. But yeah, I mean, right now, where's the results? Jones was fine with respect to the concussion. He passed all the tests right after the Dallas game. Yeah, I remember hearing about that on Sunday. I don't think it was the concussion. I really believe, like I said at the top of the stream, I really believe, and I've seen Jones do this in the past, not so much this year. I think he has matured to a certain degree in terms of not trying to force the issue. But I saw it last year, doing it in a number of games when he felt like he had to be superhuman. And when he tries to do that, he's going to come up short. And, I think that's what he tried to do today. And he just tried to fit balls that were just impossible to fit into some windows. They were just stupid throws. VT Jake, man, thank you very much. Still cautiously optimistic for the Panthers game next week and the 2 Monday nights against the Bucs and the Chiefs. I want the team to compete hard. Today makes it hard to see what the Giants really got. I think I am not going to raise any expectations. I'm not going to give anybody false hope. But if you're asking me, would I be shocked if the Giants beat the Panthers? No, I don't think the Panthers were a true 3-0 to begin with. I think they're a beatable team. As far as the Bucs and the Chiefs go, no, I don't see any way we're beating those two teams. I got to be honest with you. No. Those are Super Bowl contenders. I don't care what the Chiefs record says right now. Could we beat the Panthers? Yeah, I think we could beat the Panthers. I don't think we could beat the Bucs or the Chiefs. I just hope we could. I just hope we play, I guess, a tough game against them. But I don't think we could beat them. But I guess any given Sunday, anything can happen. John says, can you imagine if Dave Gettleman wasn't our GM? We would potentially have drafted Slater, Parsons, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, not Barkley. Passed on much talent, shaking my head. Well, Sam Darnold, I don't think would have been a good pick. Sam Darnold would have failed. You know, I actually don't hate Sam Darnold as much as a lot of other people do. I've always been like, I think he could be a good quarterback if he was in the right spot. But if Daniel Jones is not in the right spot, Sam Darnold wouldn't have been in the right spot, right? The Giants situation is not any better than the Jets was, and we've seen what has happened to Daniel Jones. So Sam Darnold would have been a complete failure with the New York Giants. As far as Josh Allen goes, I think he's doing pretty well this year. He had the injury last year. Obviously, you know, if you saw my draft reaction, I love Josh Allen. So I would have been ecstatic with that pick. Slater and Parsons, yeah, I mean, I wanted Slater. But this trade down could end up being a really good trade. So I'm going to continue to say that, even though I could easily come on here and be like, oh, stupid Giants. I would have taken Rashawn Slater. I was saying it since December. I still think this trade could be a good trade. I still think it could work out for the Giants when you factor in we got Tony, and let's see what we end up getting with that Bears pick. We did get great value. I just thought that they needed to address the offensive line sooner than they did. Bayman, thank you very much. Jones left the Dallas game because the wind got knocked out of him soft. No, that's not why he left the Giants. I don't know if this is a troll. This has got to be a troll. Bay, you've got to be trolling. What are you talking about? He left because he got the wind knocked out of him. Daniel Jones, after he got hit, looked like he had 10 of these. He couldn't stand on his feet, and he fell right to the ground. And there's no way, man. The Giants clearly saw it, and they said, yeah, he's not going back in the game today. I don't think it had anything to do with Daniel Jones being soft. If there's one thing that you could say about Daniel Jones since he's been a New York Giant, and you could definitely criticize a lot of the things. I think you could criticize a lot of the things about Daniel Jones. That's not one of them. The guy played last year on like half a leg. When he came back, he wasn't near the player that he was. I don't really question toughness with Daniel Jones. I question a lot of other things. And Christopher, man, thank you very much, man. He says, crazy Giants pass on Josh Allen and Justin Herbert for Daniel Jones. All right, I'm going to be fair about the Herbert thing. The Josh Allen, listen, I love Josh Allen. And I made a video last year before Josh Allen broke out that I thought he was going to be the breakout quarterback of the NFL. So I've always been a fan of Josh Allen. They could have taken Josh Allen. Obviously, hindsight 2020. But if we're being honest with ourselves, almost everybody that on that draft night thought it should have been Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, or trading down. Josh Allen was never really in the discussion. He was always a lottery ticket. And I honestly, in my heart, even though I really like Josh Allen, I don't know how successful he would have been with the New York Giants because I don't trust them to have built as good of a roster as the Buffalo Bills did for Josh Allen, but he's a really good quarterback. So you can make the argument about Josh Allen. The Justin Herbert argument, I disagree with because Justin Herbert, I think had he come out in 2019, we would have drafted him. In 2020, after Daniel Jones threw 24 touchdowns and obviously showed some potential, you weren't drafting a quarterback. So I'm never going to critique them for not drafting Justin Herbert. No team would have off the rookie year that Daniel Jones had. They were not going to draft a quarterback just 1 year into Daniel Jones' career. The Josh Allen thing maybe holds a little bit of water. Joshua, man, thank you very much. Mara denied McAdoo for drafting Mahomes. Mara denied McAdoo for drafting Mahomes for Eli. Yeah, that's the rumor, and obviously McAdoo wasn't very happy. I would have required a trade up. I don't know what the price would have been. Regardless, obviously, well worth it. If they were willing to make a trade with the New York Giants. But yes, that is always the thing that people go back on that love Ben McAdoo. And obviously, if Mahomes ends up here, we're a different football team, and unfortunately, that did not work out. But yes, that's another thing that I guess you could point to with John Mara. Maybe that was Mara. Maybe that was Jerry Reese. I don't know, but. Jason, man, thank you very much. Sorry I wasn't available to suffer through the game with you guys. Girlfriend convinced me to pass this week. Are you kidding me, Jason, man? Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being here. You never got to apologize. And I hope you enjoyed your day. I'm sure it was better than watching this game. Bayman, thank you very much. Jones told the media this yesterday, no concussion. I mean, he might have told the media that, but to me, and I did hear that, Bay. I did hear that they said that he passed concussion protocol. But I don't think that Daniel Jones was like, keep me out. My guess would be that the coaching staff saw the way that Daniel Jones wobbled and fell to the ground and said, yeah, you're going to take the rest of this game off. I honestly, there's a lot of things you could attack Daniel Jones for. I don't think toughness is one of them. He passed concussion protocol, but my guess is the coaching staff said, yeah, you're staying out. We saw the way that you reacted when you tried to get up back on your feet, and you looked like you fell to the ground like a drunken sailor. My guess is that was a call by Joe Judge and possibly the team doctor. I don't think it was a decision by Daniel Jones to say, no, I don't want to come back in and play. HHC, man, thank you very much. Let's be honest about today, though. We lost to a Super Bowl contender. Yeah, it hurts, but anyone who thought we were going to win today was, of course, I knew we weren't going to win, but it was the method in which we lost. But, yeah, I didn't think we were going to win. Richie Red says, there isn't a quarterback in the world that will be good on this disgusting team. I mean, maybe there's a handful, but there's not many. There's not many. That's for damn sure. There's not many that would be successful. I'll completely agree with you on that. Michael says, we're going to be fine. We're beating Carolina. Michael, man, you must be drinking a little Jack Daniels. We might beat Carolina, but I cannot come on here and tell you that I think we're going to be fine. I hope you're right, though. Let's see. What I'm scared of is that Daniel Jones is going to go to a new team and be successful. You can't be scared of that. I think it's entirely possible, but you can't be scared of that. That's part of the NFL. That's part of the business. And, you know, I'll be the first to say, man, we know what quarterbacks make. So if you're the Giants, even if you think that Daniel Jones is good, how do you justify paying him a second contract when you couldn't win on the rookie contract? And you're going to need pieces to help build this team around him. So that's just part of the NFL, man. And that's why I keep saying that I want to have a team situated for the new quarterback that we bring in before we bring him in. That's why I don't want to force another quarterback pick before we need to. But that's part of the NFL, man. You saw it happen with Ryan Tannehill with the Dolphins. Obviously, Sam Darnold with the Jets. It happens, man. Let's see what we got here. Daniel, I think that if I had to guess, Jorge, I think Daniel will be back next year. I really do. But that's just a guess. Let's see what we got here. I told you 2 years ago that Leonard Williams was a bad signing. He does nothing. I mean, you could definitely say a bad signing. I don't agree that he does nothing. The guy had 11.5 sacks last year. I wouldn't agree he does nothing. And if there was any day for you to come on here and tell me that, it wouldn't be today. He actually played. He was the only guy that played well today. But I think you could definitely say that he was probably not worth the money that we paid him, but he definitely does something. Let's see. And yeah, he's seen a lot of triple teams as well. Yeah, I know. Leo got off to a slow start last year. And HAC says, if you were the GM, what would you do to fix this? First thing I would do is go to church and pray every day. Not just on Sundays, all 7 days. But no, I said it earlier, man. The first thing I would do would be I would try to identify guys that I thought were going to be long-term building blocks of this football team, and I would look to extend certain players to get them in 5 or 6 years down the. I look at what the Dallas Cowboys did, and I always give them credit because I do like the way they built their football team at the beginning, going back to 2011, 2012. They drafted Tyron Smith, then they extended him 2 years in. Tyron Smith was on like an 8-year deal after that, and then you're paying him well under market value by the time he hit his stride. So I would look for guys that I felt like could be long-term building blocks. There's not many on this team, but that would be the first thing I would do. I would look to try to extend certain players on this team that I thought could be a part of my future long-term to get them under market value as the salary cap accelerates. So that'd be the first thing that I would do. And then the second thing I would do is in the draft, I would look to trade down. I would look to get as much potential future draft capital as I possibly could. We've got 2 first-round picks. I would look to trade down. I would look to try to get a huge trade offer for somebody looking to come up and maybe get a quarterback if I'm picking high in this draft and continue to get more and more future draft capital to be able to build this team through the draft as best as possible. Irish, he says, I am not a doctor. However, I have had all 3 grades of concussions. DJ suffered a grade 1 concussion, mild. No doubt his bell was rung. Oh, there's no doubt about it. DJ was not sore for not coming back in that game. I don't care what anybody says. In today's NFL, the coaching staff definitely erred on the side of caution and said, no, you're not going back in the game. That's what happened. That's what happened. What about the salary cap? What about it? Oh, in terms of like making roster adjustments on the team for next year. I mean, let's look at the salary cap real quick. I'll pull it up for you guys. Right now, and again, I don't know how accurate Spot Track is. The projected salary cap next year, from what I've read, is about 208. Let me see what Spot Track has their estimates at. They have it at, let me see. They have the projected cap next year at, where is it? Wow, this is the Giants' dead cap is ridiculous. They have it at one. Yeah, this isn't accurate because they got the Giants right now at $2 million in cap space. Oh no, that's for 2021. I'm looking at the wrong year. I'm sorry. Let me go to 2022. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought they had it much lower than that. And let me read this super chat by Jonathan. New York Giants could win if Chicago loses out. Let's go. Well, we play Chicago, and that's going to be the one week where if you're rooting for a higher draft pick, where it's not going to matter whether we win or lose, pretty much, because we play Chicago, I think, like the third to last game of the year. 2022, our salary cap, as of now, according to Spot Track, is negative $11 million. And that's based off a $210 million salary, a $208 million salary cap with an adjustment up to 210. So they have us at negative $11 million right now in next year's salary cap. Let me share the screen real quick and go over some of the players that we could potentially, look to make some adjustments with. Let's see. So these are some of the players next year. Okay, obviously you're going to look at the high salary guys to start. Leonard Williams, you can't cut. He's getting $26.5 million, $34 million dead cap. You can't cut him. Bradbury would save you $12 million if you cut him. $21 million, almost $22 million dead cap, and he's about 9.7 if you cut him. So he'd save you like $12 million. It's why I talked about maybe potentially trading him if you didn't feel like he was going to be a part of your future, if a team was willing to give up something for him. Galladay, you can't cut. $23 million dead cap. Solder's gone. According to this, that would actually save you $14 million. He's an $18 million dead cap at $4 million dead. So that saves you $14 million right there. That kind of offsets the negative $12 million right there. Adoree Jackson obviously can't cut. 18.5 if you cut him, 15.5 if you pay him. Blake Martinez saves you $9 million if you cut him. He's another possibility. I think I would cut Blake Martinez, and that's unfortunate because he sustained an injury, but $9 million is a lot of money. You're due to pay him $14 million if you keep him. It's why I've talked about that I might draft a young linebacker. That's just my opinion right now. It's unfortunate. The NFL's a league of injuries. And, he had one. Sterling Shepard would save you 4.5 if you cut him, 12.4 if you pay him. I think the Giants are going to keep him because they backloaded his salary before the year started. Logan Ryan, 12.2 if you keep him, 11.4 if you cut him, not cutting him. Obviously not cutting Andrew Thomas, not cutting Daniel Jones. Kyle Rudolph, I'm absolutely cutting. That's going to save you $5 million. Saquon Barkley, can't cut him. Dead cap equals the salary. Graham Gano, not cutting. Dexter Lawrence, not cutting. Riley Dixon, I'd cut. That would save me $3.2 million. So, yeah, there's some small cuts. Riley Dixon would save you $3.2 million. Blake Martinez would save you $9 million. Nate Solder would save you $14 million. And if you were able to trade Bradbury or cut him, it would save you $12 or $13 million. So there's some maneuverability with the salary cap in terms of being able to create cap space to make extensions or, make small signings next year. But obviously we're not going to have a lot of money to, be ultra aggressive next year. And let me get rid of this real quick. Jonathan says, New York Giants can win out if Chicago loses out. I already read that one. Let's go. Yeah, that's right, my man. And let's see. Ahaji, man, thank you very much. Chris Sanford says, cut them all. Yeah. Well, you can't cut them all because some of them, it costs more to cut them than actually keep them on the team. But there's certain players where it makes sense because it saves you a lot of cap. Alhaji, man, thank you very much. Gettleman's parting gift to our next GM, overpaid contracts from hell. Call me Lonely Giants fan in Philly. I'm sorry. That's what I'll call you from now on. Lonely Giants fan in Philly. Yeah, it's the same parting gift that he received when he took over the job for Jerry Reese. Thankfully, these aren't quite as bad. Those were 5-year deals. These are pretty much 3-year commitments. So you could get out pretty much after 2022. but it's still one more year on the books for those big contracts that we signed. V-Man, he says, sorry about the L. Seems Mauer was riding his dad's coattails. Unfortunately, unlike Wellington's failures, there was no Roselle to tell you to hire George Young. Yeah, unfortunately. But I have to think at this point that Mauer's going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. And he's got, maybe it's me thinking optimistically. Like I said, I could see them making an in-house hire if they want to stick with Judge for one more year. But if this doesn't work out after next year, if they go that route, I have to think that at this point, Mauer knows he's got to do something different. But maybe that's me just thinking optimistically. Chris Devers, man, he says 5-1. Yeah, congratulations, man. I know you're a big Cowboys fan. Sorry for you and buddy, number 88. No, man, you guys are off to a great start. Congrats. I know that Diggs got another, I think, a pick 6 for you guys today. So congratulations on the win, man. And you guys are running away with this division. And Chris Lee, he says, do we root to lose out to pray to salvage our season? I mean, listen, man, I'm never going to tell you what to do as a fan. I see the benefits to both. Obviously, in terms of long-term success, it goes without saying what people feel, in terms of losing, why people feel like it's a benefit. And so I understand it, man. I do. I understand both sides of it. I'm a fan. I always root for my team to win, but I am never going to judge anybody, when you look at a team as hopeless as the New York Giants, if they feel like, they're rooting for a draft pick, because at the end of the day, you're still rooting for the team to do better. You just don't think that they need more help for the future. So I'm never going to kill anybody for feeling that way. Template, man, thank you very much. In your honest opinion, I know everyone's upset with the Giants, but if you were in charge, would you fire everyone and start fresh? Template, if you said, hey, Chris, you're the owner tomorrow. The first thing I would do, first off, I wouldn't get that title until the end of the year. But at the end of the year, like, I don't know if I would make any firings right now. At the end of the year, yes, if I'm being completely honest with you, unless this team turns it around. And it's why I don't want to give a definitive opinion, because the NFL is so week to week, and my opinion might change in 2 weeks. But right now, if you ask me today, if I was the owner at the end of the year, I'm shaking this up. We can't keep going down this path, man. It's kind of what I said in another video. It's like, it comes to a point where there's too many holes in the boat, and maybe it's time to just grab a new boat. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, at this point, I would lean towards, I'm not saying completely blow up the roster, because I just don't think that's possible based on the salary commitments that we have, but I would bring in an outside general manager. And by doing that, that obviously more than likely would mean the end of Joe Judge. I would obviously leave that decision up to the general manager, but I would bring in an outside general manager. Let's see what we got. T, what's going on? Thank you for popping in. What position groups would you harden first? What last? And stay strong, Chris. You're what keeps me tuned into this blank. T, I appreciate the support that you always show. And yeah, listen, man, I'm a fan like everybody else. And, there's going to be times where, I get pissed off and I get emotional just like anybody else. I want my heart and my sleeve with this team. I just can't help it. I love this team. As far as the, and I just hate, I think it's just because I love this team so much. I hate when I'm like surrounded by negativity with the Giants just because of my love for the team. I completely understand the negativity. As far as what would I address for in terms of personnel? Yeah, position groups. You know what I'm going to say first. Offensive line. You need a stable foundation before. I think the Giants did it backwards. I think the Cowboys, I keep saying, I think they did it right. The first thing I do is I make sure I have the offensive line situated before I start bringing in the wide receivers, the running backs, the quarterback, everything else. I get that situated. I'm not saying it needs to be a finished product, but it has to be coming along. So that is the first thing, if I am a general manager, that I address. The last thing that I address are the bells and the whistles. And to me, the bells and the whistles are the wide receivers, the running backs, the safeties. Defensively, I think the two most important positions on the defense, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to give you the 3 most important positions on the defense. Cornerback, you get a lockdown cornerback that could change your defense. Cornerback, edge rusher, coverage linebacker. Coverage in today's NFL is so important. I would say cornerback, coverage linebacker, something the New York Giants haven't had ever, and an edge rusher. Those 3 areas on a defense. If you could get 3 great players that could do those things, you could fill in the rest of your defense. You could have a really good defense. So Those would be the three areas that I would really look to hit home with on the defensive side of the football. And on offense, man, it starts with the line, obviously quarterback, and then I get the bells and the whistles with the skill position players. Jonathan, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it. He says, crazy thought, Dana. Do you trade Dex? He's not a difference maker. He's on a rookie contract, and he's our best chip. Value will never be higher. I mean, his value might have been higher a year ago, to be honest with you. I don't know how well he's played this year. I'm not saying he's been horrible, but I don't know how well he's played this year. And he's only got one more year left on his rookie contract after this year. Because you're not going to, I would think, well, maybe you would. I doubt you'd extend him on the 5th-year option because it's probably going to cost about, I don't know how much a D tackle would get. I know that Barkley got $7 million, so I would say it'd probably be around that ballpark, $7-8 million on a 1-year commitment on his 5th-year deal. So yeah, I guess you'd have 2 more years of control for him on the rookie contract. I don't know how much you'd be able to get for Dex. Maybe a third, maybe. I don't think you get much more than that. And I think I'd keep him. He's still young. I think I'd be more prone to keep him. Obviously, if I get a 2nd-round pick, I would think about it. And Template, he says, I completely agree. I'm also worried about how much we spent on Golladay, especially if he stays prone to getting hurt. Well, yeah, Galladay's obviously a major problem with this team in terms of his injury history. He was banged up all training camp. He's already missed time this year, and he had an injury history last year where he missed 11 games. So, and he had hamstring issues, something that he had, while he was in training camp, and that hopefully is not a recurring problem throughout his career with the Giants. But obviously, it's a cause for concern. Now he's got a knee problem, and I'm sure that probably stems from his hamstring. So, not good, man. Jesse, and it's kind of reminiscent, by the way, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to have these dark thoughts, but it's kind of reminiscent of Brandon Marshall. Kind of is. 2017, we signed Brandon Marshall, was coming off an unbelievable year with the New York Jets, and then he started to have injury problems with the New York Giants, and I hope not, I hope not, but it's a little reminiscent of that for me. And Jesse, man, thank you very much. What do we do with Daniel Jones? Is he the guy? You know what, man? I can't answer that question until I know who the GM is going to be next year. I can't, because I don't know what they're doing with the general manager. If they're bringing an outsider, I would guess he's not going to be here. I would guess they're going to look to bring in a quarterback of the future if they bring in a complete outsider. If they hire from within, I think Jones is going to stay with the Giants. He's going to continue to be the Giants quarterback next year, if I had to guess. In terms of whether or not I could tell you if Daniel Jones is the guy, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you one way or the other, but I can tell you this. What I can tell you conclusively, Jesse, Daniel Jones could be the guy somewhere else potentially. He will not be the guy here unless we fix this team real fast. Okay? Unless you get a play caller that can get unbelievable ability out of him and you could fix this offensive line. That's what I will tell you. He will not be the guy here if we don't fix those elements of this football team. I'll tell you that right now. And our guys obviously got to stay healthy. And Michael says, I hate that Gettleman is in charge of deals before the deadline. I'm sure he's a professional and will get the best deal possible, but it could hamper us more. And I understand that. I understand that I understand that fear of coming from Giants. A lot of people have mentioned that in the stream tonight. I understand that fear coming from Giants fans regarding that. I would like to think he won't do that, but you don't know. St. Atticus says, worst fear, we go 6-5 from here on out, finish 7-10, and staff tries to plead progress. And are kept by Mara. You think that could happen? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. If we did that, yeah, I could see it. If the Giants won 6 out of their last 11 games, go 7-10, Jones looks good in the process, yes, I could see it for sure. Yes, I could definitely see it. I don't know if they're going to do that, but in said scenario, I could see them doing that. Adrian says, wish we drafted Quentin Nelson instead of Saquon. If I go back in time, I would take Quentin Nelson, obviously. Saquon Barkley's been hurt. Quentin Nelson plays a more important position, and he's the best guard in football, or, among the best. I know he's hurt this year, but he's among the best guards in football. So if I go back in time, I would have traded down and got Nelson, but unfortunately, I can't go back in the DeLorean and change things. So you're nowhere as pissed as mean, I just think we react. I'm not going to be a guy that comes on here and screams. It's just not me. I'm pissed. I think the Giants are going to blow this team up. But I'm not going to come on here and just start screaming and screaming. It's just not me. I'm going to be myself. So I'm pissed. I freaking hate where the New York Giants are at right now. What's going on there, NY Finest Man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Please don't talk about George Steinbrenner. He got Jackson because was nothing like you guys. I won't talk about George Steinbrenner if you don't want me to talk about George Steinbrenner. I was giving George Steinbrenner props. Wasn't trying to bash George Steinbrenner. What's going on? What's going on? Where's the Giants fans that were praying Dallas paid Dak? Yeah, it was one, BB13. Dak's doing a good job with Dallas. Congratulations. Congratulations. What I'll say about Dak still has not proven me wrong. Talk to me in a year or two when the salary kicks in. And then, if you guys are good, which you very well could be, then I'll admit I was wrong. He's making $17 million this year. This year, he's only eating up about 7% of your cap. Then it goes against the cap. Next year, it's $38 million. The next year, it's $45 million. The next year, it's $48 million. If he maintains and you guys maintain this, and you very well may, I'm not saying you won't, in 2 years, come back to me, and then I'll say I was wrong. Jonathan, man, thank you very much. See a lot of people saying keep Dex, but like Dana said, he's going to cost close to $10 million to not sack pressure the quarterback. New York Giants have holes. D tackle is replaceable. Yeah, I mean, if you could get something decent for him, you do it. Cap is going up, yeah, but $48 million is still going to be a lot against the cap. It's a lot more than the 7% that's going against the cap this year. He's 7% against the cap this year. Next year, he's going to be like 15%. The year after that, he's going to be like 20%. Robo, man, thank you very much. Was MetLife built on an ancient burial ground? That place is cursed. Yeah, it seems that way, man. And let's see. Michael Mooch says, who do you think is first to go? I think Peppers. I mean, if we're going to trade anybody at the trade deadline, I think the two most obvious names that are possibilities are Ingram and Peppers, and Bradbury, like I said. But obviously those two before him are more likely for the simple reason they're not under contract next year with the New York Giants, and more than likely we're not going to retain them. So I would say Peppers and Ingram are the two most likely candidates if we could find a market for them. And Will says, your first move, you were GM right now. Yeah, I've been getting asked this a lot. My first move, I was GM right now. I'm not even going to talk about like coaches or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about like personnel decisions. And I won't even talk about extending players on the roster because I've already talked about that at great wavelengths throughout this stream. In terms of picking players that I would look to extend now so they weren't eating up as much cap in the future. The first thing I try to do is trade down in the draft. That's the first thing I try to do. And obviously I make the cuts that I need to make. I'm not super active in free agency. I try to start to build this team for sustained success. I don't try to take shortcuts. I trade down in the draft. I continue to get more and more future draft capital. That's what I look to do. If I could get, obviously it's all dependent on a good package. But if I can get a good package, say the Giants should pick a third or fourth team wants to come up, get a quarterback, I could drop down to 8, still get Linderbaum, get another future first round pick, maybe a second round pick on top of it. I look to do things like that. I look to continue to try to set myself up for more future draft capital in the future because I want to build my team through the draft. That's what wins in the NFL. You look at the New England Patriots, and obviously they're not doing so hot this year, but you look at the New England Patriots when they were at their best. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers when they were at their best. They never signed high-profile free agents. They never overpay for players on their roster. They let them walk, and they replace them through the draft. That's what wins in the NFL. And the more high draft picks that I could get, the higher probability that I could get players on cost-effective salaries that could come in here and make a high impact for my football team on a cost-effective rate. So if I was rebuilding the New York Giants next year in what was, I guess, thought to be not a highly thought-of quarterback class, I would look to trade down, get as much future draft capital as I possibly can, and look to build my team that way. And think long-term, not just think about next year. Easy Lopez, it doesn't always work. New England Patriots traded down for like 10 years straight, though. That worked pretty well. It doesn't always work. You got to draft the right players, right? It doesn't always work. St. Atticus says, wait, you mean a forward-thinking general manager? You mean a forward-thinking general manager on the New York Giants? Yeah, we haven't had one of those in a while. Let's see. You choose a GM with no exploits from North Carolina. Wow, you guys are destined to lose. You don't think you can? What? I don't know what you mean by that. Why bother having Evan Ingram on the team if we are afraid to use him? They used him a little bit today, but yeah, I think he only had one catch, and he wasn't out there a ton. The only explanation I have for that, and I'm curious to get people's take actually on the chat with that, because we didn't talk about that a lot during the stream. The only logical reason I could think why Ingram wasn't used more today is because the New York Giants were as banged up as they were on the offensive line, and they felt like they needed as much protection as they possibly could. And they needed better blockers at the tight end spot, which is why you saw Caden Smith and Rudolph out there more. That's the only reason I could come up with. I think that's the most logical reason why they didn't use Ingram more today, because they saw the performance that the offensive line was putting out, and they felt that Caden Smith and Kyle Rudolph obviously are better blockers than Evan Ingram, and they needed max protection. That's the only thing I could come up with. Why he wasn't used more today. And yeah, the Rudolph contract was horrible. And T, thank you very much. He says, I'm with Asia. Find a nice gal who maybe likes chess, and show that football and chess is chess in motion. Teach her the game, make her a Giant fan. She'll either love you or kill you for it. T, I appreciate that. Yeah, maybe one day I'll be able to get a girl who likes football as much as I do. And but if I make her a Giant fan, we will get divorced within 2 years. I would never forcibly make somebody a New York Giant fan right now. I love them, and I would never encourage anybody to leave them. I love them to death. I love them till the day I die. But I would never be like, yeah, you need to become a New York Giant fan right now. Let's see what we got here. Would you have been better off with Matt Rule? I mean, Chris Lee, right now it's hard to say otherwise, right? The Panthers won today, right? I didn't get a chance to look at the scores today. I think I saw somebody in chat say the Panthers played well today. Let me see. Where are the Panthers? Panthers. I know they started off 3-0, obviously. And let me go to scores. Where's Carolina? They lost. Carolina lost today at home to the Minnesota Vikings. So I mean, Matt Rule's not off to the hottest starts now either. He started 3-0. He's down, lost 3 in a row. I mean, obviously, right now it's hard to say that Rule doesn't look better than Judge. He's 3-3. Judge is 1-5. But I think the story remains untold for Matt Rule. We'll see how Carolina continues to grow as a football team. And it was a 7-year commitment. So we'll see. I wanted Rule. So Sean says, how long until the team is truly ready to compete? Every year they're 1 or 2 years away. Sean, I'm not going to give you a time frame. I want to tell you. That's why I was as patient as I could with this rebuild. And, I always circle 2021, even in 2019, I circled 2021 as the year where I thought that this team could really start to not win a Super Bowl, but, start to be competitive, win 8-9 games. And it looks like it's not going to happen. So I don't know, in terms of what the plan's going to be going forward, so it's hard for me to put a time frame on anything in terms of what I expect. If they blow it up, the first thing I'm going to tell you is 2022 is a wash. You're just hoping that those young players grow and get better. 2023 is probably a little bit of a gradual build, and then 2024 is probably the year where you expect to be competitive. That would be my expectations if they blew it up. If they didn't blow it up and they push forward, obviously the hope is that you're able to be competitive the next season. So it's very hard for me to put my finger on what my expectations are going forward in terms of how quickly I think they could be a competitive football team until I see what their plan is going forward at year's end. You know what I'm saying? But Sean, man, thanks, buddy. And Michael says, I hate to disagree, Chris. No, I love when people disagree, as long as you're respectful, man. I love when people disagree. I think it's good conversation. But just because the experts say the quarterback class isn't good won't mean there won't be a franchise changing type guy. Isn't there it isn't there for us if they go there. No, I agree, Michael. I'm just saying, based off of what the experts are saying as of now, it's thought to be not the best of quarterback classes. Of course, if the general manager we bring in here, if we elect to go quarterback, feels like there's a transcendent talent at the quarterback position, I'm all for it. I'm just speculating, and based off of what the general consensus is, at least from what I've heard, nobody feels like there's like a Trevor Lawrence like talent in this year's draft. That's all I'm saying. If the general manager that comes in feels like there is, I'm going to support the quarterback and I'm going to hope that the guy's right. But that's just my line of thinking right now, based off of what I've heard from a lot of experts, so on and so forth. It's not the richest quarterback draft class. That doesn't mean, like you said, nobody thought Lamar Jackson was going to be a great quarterback. Lamar Jackson is one of the top 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks in the league. So if the general manager feels like there's an elite talent, and you got to give him the opportunity to see whether or not he's right. Cameron, man, thank you very much, man, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it. And let's see. Zig says, banged up, and all we have is a winnable game next week. Yeah, I would say the Raiders game is winnable as well, especially with John Gruden out of there. How did the Raiders do today? But with John Gruden, they actually won. So the Raiders won. Yeah, so that will not be easy. Broncos now have dropped 3 straight, so that loss doesn't look as promising for the Giants as it once did. The Broncos started 3-0, and you're like, maybe that wasn't such a bad loss. They're 3-3. Raiders are 4-2 now. I still think the Raiders could win. I'm not picking us, but the other 2 games we definitely can't, between the Bucs and the Chiefs. Cameron says, how much do you think we could get for Peppers? Not much. 5th round pick, 6th round pick. Like, teams know he's a free agent next year. It's not like Peppers is playing great. Safety is one of the least valuable positions on a football team. I would say it's probably viewed as probably the least valuable position on a defense, maybe interior defensive tackle, but it's not one of the more valuable positions on it. You're not getting much for Jabril Peppers. Maybe a fifth round pick, maybe. And let's see. Kyle says, I think someone is going to have to find some leaked emails from Mara. That's the only way to get. I saw somebody say that on Twitter yesterday. I was dying of laughter. The whole John Gruden thing. They were saying maybe they should have an investigation into John Mara's emails, and maybe we'll get a change. Arch Manning, thank you so much, man. I didn't know you were a subscriber to the channel. What's going on, Arch? Thanks so much for popping in, buddy. Arch, maybe one day you will be a future New York Giants. Says, do you need my help? I mean, we could use it. Man. I know you're like 5 years away, but maybe we'll see what the quarterback situation looks like in 5 years, but maybe. I want these top picks and a new staff at this point. And I think a lot of Giants fans agree with you, Bark Nasty. I think a lot of Giants fans agree with you. The thing I asked Bark Nasty, do you think that's a good enough attraction to attract a high-end GM? I think that's what you have to ask if you're a Giant fan, and it might be. Yeah, but obviously there's the deterrent of all the bad contracts that we have. But maybe a guy comes in. You know what? Especially if we have, and I think that's even stronger of an argument, Bark Nasty, the more I think about it, if we get a really high pick. I think that makes the argument even stronger that you should look to make an outside change at the GM this year, because it may never be a more attractive opportunity. Say you have 2 top 10 picks, one inside the top 2 or 3. A GM may be like, yeah, I'll rush at that opportunity. I'm going to try to change this team real fast. So that may be the opportunity that could bring in a guy here that maybe is a really good general manager candidate that thinks he can fix this team pretty quickly. Do you see a situation where Judge stays and we get a new GM? I think it's possible, Peter. But obviously the chances of Judge coming back if we hire a new GM go significantly down. I think it's possible. I would say probably not likely, but it's possible. And I appreciate you for coming in and saying that, David. He says, Fruit garbage. Thank you so much. And Michael says, could you see a scenario where Judge would take over as the GM? No way. Could you, if Judge took over as the GM, I'm telling you right now, there would be a riot outside of MetLife Stadium. There is no way you could sell the New York Giants fan base on that. People would, I would flip out if they did that. How could you give Joe Judge the keys to the castle? What has he done? So no, I can't see that. Now could I see it like, okay, like let's play like fantasy, projecting 2 years from now. Like if they hired a guy from within and Judge gets this team on the right ship and they start winning football games and say they're like 12-5 in 2023 or 2024, and then maybe, but right now, no way, man. No way. World's Heaviest Jam Man says, I'd be holding the pitchfork. Scotty H says, I want hogs. That's right. Every time I get high on DJ, these types of games happen. And I know, and it's unfortunate, man. He's inconsistent. Some of that has to do with him, and some of that has to do with the fact that the guy doesn't have much help around him. But it's true. What's up, Carlos? Man, I talk to you on Twitter all the time. What's going on, man? He says Jim Harbaugh for head coach. I don't know if Jake's in here. I'm not going to play the audio clip. I will never play the audio clip because I promised him I would never play it. Jim Harbaugh was this close. This close to being the New York Giants head coach in 2020. This close. And I know it for a fact. I'm not making that up. That close. And it never came out to the press. Jim Harbaugh was that close to being the New York Giants head coach in 2020. That close. Let's see what we got here. Jesse, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. We cleared out Reese's guys for ghetto bums. Yeah. Well, that's what will happen when you fire Gettleman. They'll clear out Gettleman's guys. That's why there will be a rebuild. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not making that up, guys. But I will never play it. I will never play the audio clip. I promised him I wouldn't. Murphy, man, thank you very much. Hey, Chris, what are your top 5 favorite Giants players to tug to? Oh, Murphy, man, that's a mature question. I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say to that. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay, then. That's a good question there. Let's see what we got here. Rick, man, thank you very much. Judge said in the intro press conference that he wanted this team to reflect the city they play in. He did just that. Everyone is leaving. There you go. Yes, that's a great point you bring up. Everybody's leaving New York because it's way too much money to live here. Who winning a bad dog? Is the Pope Catholic? I don't tell you things I can't do. Bad dog looks like he could rip my head off with his pinky. But I'm not making that up about Harbaugh. But I'm not making that up. True story. Who would you like to see as the head coach or general manager? I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to get this question all offseason. And my answer to you is I hope it's Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman and we win 12 games. I hope we win our next 11 games and we push forward what we got. No, but realistically speaking, I know I'm going to get this question all offseason, and I don't have a GM list right now. I just don't. And head coach, I don't want it to be an offensive-minded head coach, but it's something I'm not even thinking about right now in terms of like individuals. I'm sure like kind of when we did the coaching search, when we got Joe Judge, and I was opinionated then when I got the list of names of guys that they were potentially interested in. I'll have a better, if they go that route. We'll see if they do. I'll have a better opinion in terms of who I think they should go after. Mr. Lopez, he says, do you think we'll make any in-season changes? Yeah, yes. I would think the Giants would look to potentially be sellers at the deadline. And I would not be surprised at all if there's some changes to the coaching staff. And I'm not saying the head coach, but I would not be surprised at all if there's changes to the coach staff. Not even necessarily firing anybody, but in terms of delegating different responsibilities to try to change things to improve the team. I have to think that the Giants are going to have to do something. The fan base is going to go ballistic. Like, we'll see. But, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if there's changes from inside the coaching staff at some point this season. And Rick, man, he says, Judge lost me with keeping DJ in the game when it was clearly over. It's a good point. A lot of people were saying that in the chat today. It was like 38-3, wasn't it? It was like a blowout with like 8 minutes left. It's a good point, especially coming off the concussion. I've been a Judge supporter, but DJ took some unnecessary hits. Blowout game, banged up O-line, coming off a concussion. Yeah, that's a great point. And I didn't really talk about it, but that's a great point. And he kind of did the same thing last year with DJ, right? When we played the Cardinals. Well, no, it wasn't. Was it the Cardinals when he was limping back to the huddle in the third quarter and he kept him in? Yeah, that's a great point by you. There was no reason to have Jones still in that game coming off the concussion. Good call by you. Saint man, thank you very much. He says, curious, which players did you notice quit today? I mean, I'd have to watch I tape every game. I'd have to go back and watch the game. I don't know, man. I just felt like they weren't playing with the same energy. And maybe it's just me because I'm negative, was being in the moment. I was negative of the way the team was playing. So I didn't use the word quit. I just felt like I don't know. I just felt like they didn't have the defense specifically. I just felt like the effort wasn't there as the game was wearing along. I can't give you like an individual player. I don't know. It was just a general feeling that I got while I was watching the game. But I don't want to call it any individual player saying that they quit. I'd have to watch back the game to give you like an individual player. Just while I was watching the game, and obviously my mind, I was pissed off watching the game, but it was just like the feeling that I got as I was watching the game. But I don't want to that's why I said I'm not going to say anybody quit. It was just a feeling I had as I was watching. I was like, I just feel like the intensity is not there, which is semi-understandable. You're down by like 30 points. But that was just a feeling I got. Zig says, yo, Chris, the rebuilding and draft talk will be fun. Oh, yeah. I mean, it won't be that fun because I wish it was Super Bowl talk, but what I'm looking forward to, because you guys know if you're long-term time subscribers of my channel, one of the most popular things I do in the offseason is the Gettleman Project. What is it going to be called this year? Because I don't think it's going to be called the Gettleman Project anymore. So I'm going to have to come up with a new name for that. I don't think it'll be the Gettleman Project. And Grim Solo, man, thank you very much. He says, we need wholesale changes. The changes that were promised in 18 need to overhaul the front office, bring in outside voices, 21st century thinking. We need wholesale changes. The changes that were promised in 18 need to overhaul the front. I agree. Yeah, dude, at this point, I mean, we got to do something, man, at this point. Yes, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm completely on board with bringing an outside GM at this point, and hopefully they bring in the right guy. Let's see what we got here. Michael says, these seasons make me miss hearing Francesa. I was never a huge fan of Francesa, to be completely honest with you, Michael, but the one thing I will say, because I don't know, I think Francesa is like the type of guy you either love or you hate. I don't know if I hated him, but I just wasn't a big fan of him. But the one thing that I loved about Mike Francesa, his Eli Manning rant was the best. When the Giants benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith, he had like a half-hour rant. I listened to that like 10 times. That is my favorite Mike Francesa moment. His rant when the New York Giants benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith. That was terrific. I was never a big fan of him, but that rant was great. This is the worst team I've ever seen watching the Giants. I don't know if it's the worst, but it's certainly one of the worst. Like 2017 is probably still the worst. That probably still takes the cake for me. Because 2017, you were coming off a playoff appearance, and there was a lot of people that had Super Bowl expectations going into that year, and then they laid an egg and they won 3 games. I don't know if anything's going to top 2017 for me. Like that, I say it all the time. I think that's for me as an individual season. That was the worst season for me as a fan. But this is bad. This is really bad. Murphy says, Chris, can you sign my? Oh, all right, Murphy. Be good. Be good there, Murphy. Okay. Quan says Louis Riddick was right, except for the Thomas take. I could actually give you a couple takes where he's wrong. The Thomas take, obviously wrong. He said he would have extended Landon Collins. Not only, he would have signed him to a multi-year contract with the Giants. That would have been wrong. He said he would have drafted Saquon Barkley, which a lot of people discredit Dave Gettleman for. That would have been wrong. And maybe that's it. I don't know. But he said a couple things that weren't great. And Mark, man, he says, by the way, Aziz can't bend the corner to be a sack guy. I mean, Aziz, I felt like Giants fans were kind of like overhyping him a little bit at the beginning. I was excited. I still think he'd be really good. I was excited when we drafted him. But yeah, he's got a lot more to prove before I'm like ready to like fully commit. Like, yeah, this guy could be a huge player for this New York Giants football team. I think like 2 of his sacks have been covered sacks. He's still learning. He's a young player. second-round pick. I don't expect him to be a guy that's going to come in and have 12 sacks in his rookie year. That's why I was kind of trying to temper expectations for him before the year started. But, yeah, I still think he'd be a good player. But, yeah, he's not near a finished product. Kyle says, how did you feel when you saw the team give up? I mean, again, I don't want to say that they gave up. But when I felt that it didn't feel the same for me in terms of yeah, I was deflated, man, because that's one thing I can say about Joe Judge since he's been here. Even last week, man, that team fought as hard as they possibly could. And I'm not saying they gave up. I'm not saying that. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying that. But yeah, if they did, that's never something that you like to see, man. And I personally did not see a full effort there for the last 10 minutes or so of that game. I did not see a full effort for the last 10 minutes of the game, if I'm being honest. Didn't feel that way. Why? I don't know. That's a good question, Flip, about the 2-point conversion. My kid is a Jets fan because of that 2017 team. I lost the bet to my wife because the Jets had a better record that year. Oh, God. Well, you know what? Jets and Giants are about the same right now, so maybe it'll work out better for them. Hopefully it doesn't. No, I don't want Carl Banks as the general manager. I know Carl Banks is a real, and I like Carl Banks. Obviously, he's for Giant great. He's got no credentials. I mean, and again, that would be much of the same. Like we talk about how we want John Mara to think outside the box. You know, that would be more of the same. That's a guy that he's familiar with. He's got a relationship with. He has no credentials to be a general manager. No, I would not want Carl Banks to be the general manager for the New York Giants. Yeah, and the Jets also have a lot of future draft. We have draft capital too, but I think they have a little bit more future draft capital, and they're in the infancy stages of their rebuild, right? You know, so I agree. Right now, they're kind of you at least hope if you're a Jet fan, you're starting to approach the come up. And Quan says I was speaking on his takes for. Oh, my mistake. I didn't mean to misinterpret you. Yeah, I don't remember that. I did that video with JD Sports Talk. I don't remember the whole video. Yeah, I the only thing I disagreed with in terms of what he said was that, if I remember correctly. I didn't really disagree with anything else what he had to say in terms of the way that the team was built. I just basically said that I don't think Riddick would have done a much better job building the team based off of things he had said in the past. But in terms of what he said, in terms of his criticisms for the Giants, I didn't disagree with any of it. Outside of his Andrew Thomas criticism, I thought it was a little bit premature, which is what you said. So I agree. His criticisms, I think they were like obvious criticisms. I think like we all knew like the Giants offensive line was a complete joke and they hadn't built the team properly. So I agreed with that, man. And Richard, man, thank you very much, man, for the $5 donation. I appreciate it. Believe it or not, all our guys get healthy. We could end up having a not. So I think you meant to say a not so bad season, CeeLo Ren. Who knows, man? I am not gonna fool myself into being overly optimistic about this team going forward. We're 1-5. Would I be shocked? Like I feel like the Giants do this. Like they did it last year. They did it like in 2019, where they'll start like 1-7 or 1-6, and they'll finish like 6-10. So would I be surprised if they like win like 5 games over the second half? No. But at the end of the day, 6 wins, like 7 wins, like still not a good season. Dire Giants fan, man, thank you very much. He says next member stream. Yeah, I'll probably try to do. I couldn't do it today because I was running late before the game, but I'll definitely do one. I try to do one every Sunday before the game. Today I was just running late, that's why I didn't do it. But next Sunday I'll definitely do one before the game for you guys. When the Giants play. So next Sunday, I don't know what time the game is, but I'll do one next week. I was running late today, so that's why I couldn't do it before I went live with Bad Dog. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I just saw somebody say Jim Harbaugh next head coach, and it made me think about it. But I always promised I'd never say anything. Show what I heard. So I'm never going to do that. I'm a man of my word. But yeah, he could. It was possible. Let's put it that way. It was possible, and it was a name that was never leaked as a coach candidate for the Giants. Let's see. It's 1:00 again next Sunday. Okay. So yeah, I'll do the member stream at like 11 or like maybe 10:30. Nah, probably 11 and 12. Whose jersey? I got Andrew Thomas on. Andrew Thomas on. Time to look for the draft. Yeah, I know, man. The Entertainment Talking Sports, it's Dark Demonic, man. What's up, man? Of course I remember you, dude. Glad to see you, man. Haven't seen you in a bit. And obviously a Jet fan. You were always a great supporter of my channel, man. I hope you're doing well. He says, if you remember me, this is the Great New York Depression. This sucks for the city of New York in general. I'm ashamed as much as you are for being a fan. Dude, we're in a really tough side. Like I said earlier in the stream, Dark, I will say I think your Jets are in a little bit better position just because you guys are in the beginning of your rebuild, and we're in the part of our rebuild where we should be starting to take off. So, I think you guys are in a little bit better of a spot, but obviously you guys aren't in a great spot either. And the Giants and the Jets have been the laughingstock of the NFL over the last, 10 years. So it's bad right now to be a New York sports fan, a New York football fan in general. Evan says, Chris, it's frustrating that our key players aren't scoring touchdowns. Jason Garrett needs to be better. Yeah, I mean, the players need to be better too, right? Like, I'm not going to just put it all on Jason Garrett, but when we got in the red zone today early on, couldn't get it into the end. We couldn't score, and that's been a problem with the Giants for the last 2 years. Been horrible in the red zone. Some of that falls on Garrett, but at the end of the day, the players need to execute too. Hey, Chris, what are we going to do with this team? We're going to pray, man. Yeah, it happens every year, Sam. And then some years like 2019, 18 rather, I think what was the first year with Shermer? I think we won like 4 out of our last 8. I think we started 1-7, and we could have won like 7 out of our last 8. Like, it just seems like it's the same thing every year where we play horrible in the first 8 and we play much better in the second 8. Giants basically got to the end of the runway after buying really expensive engines and couldn't get off the ground. Pretty much. What's up, Chris said? Yeah, horrible. Jake says, if we pick an O-lineman in the first round, I think we should trade down a little bit. I mean, it depends on the lineman, right? I mean, Evan Neal, and again, this may change as the draft approaches, but depends on the lineman. Evan Neal might very well be projected as a top 5 pick if that's the guy we want to take. If say we like 3 or 4 linemen, though, I'm with you, man. I'm all for trading down and getting more draft capital. Christian says, so many injuries are hurting our assessment on where this team is heading, but that's part of the game too, right? The best abilities, availability, especially in football. So it's unfortunate, but if we have injury plagued players, it kind of assesses itself. These guys got to stay healthy. They haven't been able to. I mean, Tony's now missed time. Thomas has missed time. Jones has missed a little bit of time. Well, he didn't miss like a half last week. Barkley now missing more time. Golladay missing time. John Ross missed time, right? So Shepard missed time. Slayton's missed time. I mean, it's been a disaster. Our entire offensive line has gotten hurt. Shane Lemieux's out for the year. Nick Gates out for the year. Andrew Thomas now hurt. Like, it's insane. Like, literally every player in the team on offense has gotten hurt. It's insane. Appreciate that, Noah, man. Thanks so much for being here, buddy, man. Noah's awesome. He's been with me forever as well. I'm looking forward to talking Knicks. I know obviously you're a huge Knicks fan. I'm looking forward to talking Knicks with you soon. We're gonna wrap this up in like 7 minutes. I'll close it at 10. I don't even remember when I started going live. It's been a while, but I appreciate all you guys talking to me, and definitely have some Giants content up this week. But I appreciate all you guys for hanging out and talking Giants with me, man. I'm sorry that this team is not better than what I hope they would be. I'm gonna end this at 10. Will you be covering Knicks games? Yes, I'm. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, I get this question a lot. That's why I'm gonna answer it. I don't know who asked it. I'm not even gonna. I missed it, but somebody asked it. I'm gonna be doing, as far as Knicks. Obviously, I'm gonna live stream all the games like I did last year. I'll miss a game here and there, but the majority of the games I'm gonna live stream, and I'm gonna be doing a live show on Tuesday, the day before the opening game. JD Sports Talk is gonna be on. We'll be live for like 2 hours, talk about the upcoming season, and then every Friday, that's at least the plan as of now. He's gonna come on midday at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we're going to do like an hour and a half show about the Knicks once a week, plus the game. So, yeah, I'm going to have plenty of Knicks coverage up on the channel. You are cheaper than a therapist. Appreciate that, St. Atticus. I appreciate you doing live stream tonight. Yeah, man. I appreciate all you guys for being here, man. Cheers. Thanks for the live stream, Chris. You got it, Nate, man. Thanks for being here, buddy. Have you seen the new Halloween? I have not. I have not seen the new Halloween movie. I have seen, all right, there's 2 movies that I've seen. One is not out yet. The other one just came out that are great. James Bond, you need to see. And I'm not even a James Bond fan. The new James Bond was friggin' awesome. And I saw the new Ghostbusters at Comic-Con. It was a surprise showing. Nobody expected them to show it. That doesn't come out, I think, still for another 3 weeks. I think the new Ghostbusters is going to be the most popular movie of the summer. I didn't think it would be that good, and I was blown away. I think it was freaking awesome. So I Ghostbusters and James Bond were both great. Let's see what we got here. Chris, who is your number 1 realistic guy to bring in at head coach? Yeah, I mean, listen, man. Eric Bieniemy's the name that everybody's going to say. Brian Daboll's the name that everybody's going to say. Joe Brady's the name that everybody's going to say. There's so many names. Until such time I get like a list of guys that the Giants are interested, it's going to be hard for me to give you a guy that, a realistic name. Tana, how often do you get stopped on the street? I have been, well, obviously when I went to the Giants game, a lot of people knew me, but that's, because I do Giants stuff. In person, I would say like 8 times, maybe 7, 8 times, somebody's recognized me. They're like, "Oh, you're the Giants guy." Yeah. Not like an everyday occurrence, but yeah, it happens. It's cool, man. I'm like blown away when somebody's like, "Oh, I watch you all the time on YouTube." So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm streaming the Knicks on Wednesday, and I'm doing a show for the Knicks on Tuesday. Chris, let's keep Jones for 1 more year and draft 2 linemen next year. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've said now for a long time. And if I was the GM, I think that's where my head is at right now. But sorry, sorry, therapist. Rashad says Judge is so glad that the team is losing because it is going to save his job because everyone is hurt. No. I mean, he may still be back here, but I don't think the injuries are going to have anything to do with whether or not Joe Judge keeps his job. Maybe it will be. I don't think that should have nothing to do with whether or not he keeps his job, at least in my opinion. If they want to keep him, I understand it. You don't want to flip another head coach after 2 years, but I mean, he's done things in these games that yes, you can't expect them to beat the Cowboys. You can't expect them to beat the Rams with the injuries they've sustained, but he's still done things in these games that makes you scratch your head. And I don't know, man. I just don't think he's overall done a very good job this year. I think he's done a bad job. So I don't think the player injury should have anything to do with whether or not Joe Judge keeps his job. And I'm hoping he does. I don't want to fire another head coach, but that should not influence whether or not he keeps his job. I don't think so, Jay Fleming. No, I don't think so. Somebody recognized me like a month ago walking my dog. That was pretty funny. Charles says, follow Giants Weekly, but the Rams are my team. This was expected. I appreciate you for checking out the channel, man. And congratulations on the win today, man. You guys are a hell of a football team. I actually picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl when the year. I don't know if I picked you to win or go to the Super Bowl. I definitely had you at least going to the Super Bowl when the year started. You guys got a great football team, so congratulations. And the thing that's scary if you're a Rams fan, like in a good way, I don't think the Rams have like really hit their stride yet. Like I think you guys are obviously really good, but I don't think you've hit your peak yet. Like you're still not. Your defense hasn't been incredible this year. I think your defense is going to get better. So I think the Rams are really good, and I'm going to stick with it. I think you guys are going to the Super Bowl this year out of the NFC. Obviously, the Bucs are really good. Obviously, the Cowboys look good. The Packers look good. The Cardinals look really good. But I'm sticking with my pick. I think you guys are going to the Super Bowl. Irish, he says, Chris, as a Giants fan, we are all in this together. The ups and downs. Don't apologize for anything. Thank you for making me feel like I am home with my Giants friends. Lifelong Giants fan living in Texas sucks. Well, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the kind words, man. And it's got to be tough for you in Texas, especially with the way the Cowboys are playing right now. Maybe 10 years ago it wasn't as bad, but right now it's got to be brutal. So Uh, I appreciate you checking out the channel. I'm going to continue to talk Giants. I always say it, man. As long as Giants fans don't leave me, I'm never leaving Giants fans. There's going to be times where I need to take breaks because it's like it wears you down, with the the way the team is playing and the mentality of the fan base. But I'm always going to hammer home Giants content. I love doing it. Never thought I would fall into talking about them as much as I do, but it all goes to you guys that support the channel and give me the motivation to talk Giants football. It's what I love to do. So I appreciate everybody. And I appreciate that, Will, man. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. You'll entertain it. Do you think Joe Judge should be fired for not putting in not for that reason, but I didn't agree with the decision. Oh, Keem is okay. So I think that was a troll. Okay. God almighty. You guys are crazy, man. Some of you trolls out there. You guys are crazy. Evan B. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock, guys. I am going to close it out. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys. And we'll talk soon. You know we will. I'm sure I'm going to be live this week with Bad Dog on the channel for Talking Giants. We'll be live streaming the game. And I'm sure there'll be a video coming out probably tomorrow talking about some things that come out. Maybe, some things that, I don't know. I'm sure Joe Judge said some things that are going to be noteworthy. So I'm sure I'll have a video up, tomorrow or the day after, whatever it may be, about the Giants. Knicks content coming up as well if you're Knicks fans. And I appreciate all you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. And I'm sorry that this team sucks, man. I wish it didn't, but it does. We're really bad, but I'm going to be here every step of the way with you guys. And, I hope, we come out on the other side sooner than later. And we finally start to have some victory celebrations one day. But I appreciate all you guys, man. Wouldn't want to go through this with any other fan base in the world in terms of the ups and the downs. And there's been a lot of downs, but appreciate all you guys. You guys have a good night. We'll talk soon and be good, everybody.